What will happen if after death in this world he goes to hell? Those who live in hell usually dream of heaven, but now Bruce dreams only of returning to Earth again. The damn system window makes him stare without looking away. At some point, the guy stops understanding what all this means. He loses consciousness without finishing the system's message. His sister's face in the moving car was the last thing he remembered. A second later, the car goes off the road and buries Bruce's entire family. He wakes up in a place where there is no one else around. In exchange for his suffering, the system grants him the origins of divine martial arts. He must go his own way to see his family again. At first, it seemed like it was all just a terrible nightmare. It's hard to say how many kilometers he walked forward. Finally, the edge of this place was reached. Soon it will all be over and he will see his sister's eyes. When the door opens, the last hope is destroyed. Instead of the edge of the location, he sees the whole of Murim in front of him. This was just the beginning of his leveling up to the maximum. This is exactly the return condition that the system offers. The next 10 years will be a walk in hell for him. At this moment, he meets a local settler for the first time. The man could have let him go if the family had not been starving. Alas, without a piece of his flesh, he certainly won't let Bruce go. The first test to level up begins now. The guy quickly copes with this mission. Without even understanding how, Bruce easily kills the hungry settler. In this way, he increases his combat level a little. It's even easier than it seemed at first. His instincts told him what to do. The secret lies in the book of the origins of the divine art of cultivation. To return to his world, he must gradually level up. After many years, the level became unattainable for everyone. Even his enemies recognized him as the leader of a demonic cult. Bruce wants to know what generation this leader belongs to. The leader of the 8th generation became an easy target. Today he has already killed the leaders of 2 other generations. Their bodies still lie near the mountain ledge. However, without the 3rd corpse, the day will be wasted. He won't need the head of the 8th generation leader anymore. The guy attacks Bruce alone, forgetting about his level. Such courage usually leads to one outcome. Stopping him is as easy as cutting off the leader's head. He really admires this child's courage. The young man is quite worthy of becoming the successor of the dead leader. Anyone else in his place would have died long ago, but Bruce decides to spare the life of this brave warrior. He will wait for their next meeting, when he has studied the demonic arts. Bruce names him the new leader of the demonic cult. Someday this fight will continue, and the guy will be killed. In the evening, Bruce was finally able to get some rest. In recent times, new leaders have been weaker than old ones. It's hard to entertain yourself with a fight against weak opponents. He has been living this sad life for 140 years. This moon has seen everything Bruce has been through over the years. For 140 years, he never forgot for a minute about one terrible day. The day life turned upside down along with the family car. He completed the system's task, raising the level to the maximum possible. Only now the system announces the fulfillment of the main condition. She is ready to bring him back to Earth. It turns out they took pity on him and decided to end Bruce's suffering. No, they despise him and now they just want to get rid of him. He managed to reach the divine tier by killing others. Bruce must free himself from all human desires. The desire to meet with family must be discarded as an extra burden. Moreover, they have been dead for a long time. What he most longs for is to meet the one who created all this, with the one who condemned him to wander in a strange world. The creator of the system deserves only revenge and death. Bruce will be the one to personally reduce his lifespan to 0. Perhaps the system senses his rage and knows his thoughts. That is why she sends the guy back to the familiar world. The Emperor's High Sword did everything he was trained to do. He stayed in Murim for 140 long years. But any wanderings will eventually end. The meeting with the creator that Bruce longed for would happen much sooner. The portal is already open to accept a new entity. Only by going through suffering can humanity evolve. Someone must lead the army against the coming nightmare. Creatures from another world are much stronger than ordinary people. Did anyone promise that Bruce would be given a rest after wandering in Murim? At this time, Greta sees how the monsters are catching up with her friend. Fierce beasts have already established dominance everywhere. The decisive arrow ability always gave an advantage. There is no problem hitting a moving target. The guy was lucky that his boss was this warrior. A true team leader is willing to do anything to keep people together. She commands to drop everything and get out of here immediately. Unfortunately, this should have been done much earlier. Then I wouldn't have to watch my friend get torn apart by a monster. He was a good guy and a good fighter. There is no end to the monsters. They overtake from all sides. Greta was slightly delayed during the cleanup. A fairly simple task turns into a real tragedy. Her bow was almost completely out of potential. It's a shame that such cowards serve in the ranks of the fighters. She sees one of the guys abandon his leader. The girl demands that he remember his duty and return to his place. It's hard to talk to a guy when you're standing next to hungry creatures. If things continue like this day will be Greta's last. Bastard Colin understands this simple truth too. He didn't want to be on a team of these weaklings. However, it will all end soon. There are only a few steps to the portal. If it weren't for the arrow, the guy would have already managed to escape. He made the decision to escape too late. Now the traitor will have to answer a couple of questions. The first question is, where is this bastard going in such a hurry? Colin asked the girl to calm down and not do anything stupid. Although he had already done the main stupidity himself, she had warned before that the battlefield was not the safest place. By abandoning his position, he doomed the rest of the team to death. The entire team died because of one dirty traitor. In response, the guy rudely pushes Greta away, believing that he did the right thing. It's funny that he's only showing courage now. His influential father won't help him avoid trial anyway. The commission will not turn a blind eye to the deaths of the remaining fighters. Upon her return, she will report everything to her superiors. In the person of his own leader, the guy finds his main enemy. Colin is definitely not ready to do that. His rock crusher ability works great in close combat. Greta did not expect such a vile act. She doesn't have time to put up a barrier, missing a direct attack. It's a shame that there are some vile degenerates among the new recruits. Now this guy can dictate the terms. She forgot who she was dealing with. If Greta is admired by her superiors, this does not give her the right to be rude. The guy can't stand this kind of treatment. The dungeon raid would have ended with the group's death anyway. The death of the leader will not change anything. Looks like this is the end. Finally, the guy thanks her for all her efforts. He is sure that there is no one else in this place except them. Such a miscalculation often leads fools to death. You only have to turn around to see it with your own eyes. Colin's death looks a little different. Bruce chose a good place for his return to Earth. His sister Greta needs her brother's help more than ever. Help is already here, you don't have to worry about anything. However, this does not apply to the traitor next to her. He won't let him get away with it. Only now does the guy notice an alien from another reality. He demands to know who sent him to this planet. Instead of answering, the guy simply walks past. They will still have time to return to the conversation they started. Right now, he's only interested in his sister's safety. The vile bastard will answer for this. Colin realizes that the alien will become the main witness to the crime. If Greta confirms the guy's words, he will be sent to prison for a long time. He must come up with a way to avoid punishment. Colin insists that Bruce got it all wrong. They were just having fun with the Mortal Kombat. If the guy keeps this a secret, he promises a reward for his silence. However, there is no need to look for excuses. He decides to get rid of the main witness right now. The decision is fundamentally wrong. The alien's energy is much stronger than his own. It would be foolish to deny that the guy opposite was very strong. It's like he has the maximum level. He had never encountered such a destructive aura before. If he's right, Colin won't leave here alive. Otherwise, Bruce would not have noticed the small fry nearby. But today was a special day of returning to Earth. This alien is none other than the Emperor's supreme sword. Today the sword is pointed towards Colin. You can threaten him with your father as much as you like. Threats are unlikely to save you from death. One charge of such power is capable of killing even a god. No human being can withstand something like this. Colin took on too much when he was still alive. The world will never hear his threats against his powerful father again. It's much nicer to listen to silence instead of his nasty voice. Greta is not yet ready to learn the whole truth about her missing brother. The elder brother Bruce returned to his sister as he promised. He often calmed Greta down when she was still a child. It was Greta who persuaded her parents to go on the trip. Her brother always wanted to see her as the happiest girl. He suggests going back into the house so that his parents don't worry. She seems to sense trouble in her heart. Greta is sure that soon she will not be able to see her brother often. Silly girl, can her brother leave her alone? There is no one more important to him, and the girl must remember this. Even after entering university, he will often go to the amusement park with her. This news immediately made little Greta happy. Only after this does she agree to go into the house. The amusement park ends with a horrific accident in the middle of the highway. If Greta hadn't insisted, this would never have happened. She wouldn't have lost her parents and brother in one day. Bruce simply disappeared, vanishing into thin air. After so many years, they met again. It is not difficult for Bruce to revive a person after a minor injury. He warns that she will have difficulty moving for some time. In the first seconds, the girl does not recognize her own brother. She changed not only in appearance, but also in character. But Bruce recognizes her from a million other girls. There wasn't a day that went by that he didn't remember his sister. It was Bruce who gave her the pendant on that last day. Inside it was a beautiful family photograph. The pendant became the only thing that reminded him of his brother. Finally, Greta understands who is standing in front of her right now. It is impossible to describe in words the feelings of this unfortunate girl. Suddenly, she pushes her brother away, remembering Colin. Bruce, on the other hand, had long since forgotten about the headless guy. Greta is horrified that he simply killed her new recruit. It's weird that she reacts so violently to the death of a useless idiot. You can't just stay at the scene of a murder. The girl demands to get out of here immediately. It is much more comfortable to remember the distant past at home. It is difficult to count how many years he has not been in his native home. Greta knows what decision the board will make when they learn of Colin's death. His father used to be a member of a dangerous criminal group. He is the only high-ranking hunter among the guild's fighters. He probably already knows how the raid ended for his son. She is the only one from the squad who managed to survive. Bruce asks to leave this problem to him. There is nothing difficult about killing the guild director. She's so funny when she smiles. Greta is sure that he can't handle a level 50 hunter. And by the way, what supreme sword of the Emperor is he talking about? He has no idea how difficult it is to live alone. Every night she dreamed of people close to her. Now it turns out that the brother managed to survive that disaster. Bruce himself does not understand whether his salvation can be called life. All these years he seemed to be in oblivion. Murim replaced the guy's usual world for a long time. He doesn't even know if there is a concept of levels in this world. This is also the first time he hears about the Hunters Guild. All this news could make your head explode. First, she needs to deal with one urgent matter. Greta asks to wait for her here until she returns from the guild. My home has changed so much that it is no longer my home. Greta also changed a lot, as if she had become a stranger to him. He'll have to prove to her that he's still the same. First of all, he has to get rid of the main problem with the deceased. A second later, the problem itself burst into the house. Colin's father actually found out about everything. He easily opens the front door with the help of magic. Blind rage has long filled the soul. Now nothing will stop Howard from avenging his son's murder. The guy can also present a bill. Howard demands to know where the owner is now. The girl was lucky to leave the house in time. She is already rushing to the guild's main office. Greta could be captured before she even steps foot in the door. At this moment, a familiar voice is heard in the distance. Lana didn't expect to see her so early. The girl recently became deputy director. In other words, she is the closest person to Howard in terms of her job. Her thoughts were always difficult to understand. Lana is known for her firmness and sense of justice. This is the only chance to survive. Howard will never forgive the loss of his only child. There is only one person in his way. Bruce doesn't like it when someone barges in without knocking. One of the guys is confident that he can easily deal with Bruce, but now it's just between the two of them. Howard will find out where Greta is at any cost. Suddenly, the guy confesses that he is his son's killer. He had long dreamed of revenge. Now his rage would find its outlet. Bruce is ready to face the best hunter in the guild. We need to find out how good he is in a real fight. Bruce was the first to dare cross blades with him. It's understandable why Lana dreams of meeting this guy. True, he has no time for dates with girls now. Howard's sword is imbued with some mysterious power. Perhaps this is the hunter's secret ability. His son also used this power when he was still alive. It will be possible to study it more closely after dealing with one old man. Besides his aura, Howard had some great abilities in reserve. He knows how to quickly catch up with his opponent from a long distance. The consecutive hits ability is quite rare. Putting his hand forward, Bruce easily blocks the attack. To be honest, it can be surprising. His level corresponds to the level of martial arts. But he is definitely not able to block attacks with his bare hands. It will take a long time to train before you can repeat this. 2 students can fill this skill gap. They won't allow the teacher to be killed right before their eyes. In fact, they'd be better off moving further away. Suddenly he realizes that the students can do something too. One of them uses the magic fireball ability. It was his signature weapon for the most difficult situations. His friend decides to finish the job. He is sure that Bruce has already exhausted his vital forces. At this moment, someone appears opposite who has prepared a different ending for everyone. The boys are even stronger than he expected, but it's not enough. He was a little hasty in making his final lunge. Cold elements work great against his fire shots. He will definitely master it if he survives. This will be a problem as long as Colin's killer is alive. My sister said Bruce had been missing for 14 years. During the absence, the level of this trinity reached its peak. It's hard to believe that ordinary people developed so quickly, but none of them reached the level of the top 10 masters. In terms of strength, Bruce is equal to a whole crowd of excellent warriors. Rumor has it that Howard's ratings have gotten higher than his own. In that case, you need to reach the very top as quickly as possible. You can't beat someone who is already the best. After her brother's return, Greta is beside herself. It's weird that Lana wants to meet Bruce so badly. Greta is not entirely sure whether she is a friend or an enemy. Lana is too confident that she can close the case of Colin's murder. Such offers are usually not refused. This girl always has strange ideas in her head. On the way, Lana starts talking about Bruce's sudden disappearance. It happened 14 years ago, right after the accident. If she's right, for Bruce himself, 140 years have passed. During this time, he must raise his level to the maximum. Greta recalls that her brother was always good at studying. He was able to enter the university without competition. Persistence and stubbornness gave him some advantages, unlucky for all those who tested them on their own skin. He is able to sense approaching danger from everywhere. Without even turning around, Bruce delivers a precise blow to the head. You'll have to watch your students turn into rotting meat. He had seen hundreds of similar tricks at the North Sea Ice Palace. However, he is alive, which means they were useless. A second later, Howard sees the ice dragon in front of him. One breath was enough to turn him into a piece of ice. The plan needs to be changed if the student does not want to follow him. After running a few steps, he activates the barrier. Sometimes the enemy turns out to be the one you consider an ally. Howard is ready to kill his own student for disobeying orders. He had to cover the rear and not leave his position. These guys don't seem to care about loyalty at all. The man looked like a bandit, but in fact he was an ordinary magician. Despite the speed of the battle, nothing in the room was damaged. However, the guy knew about today's meeting in advance. Bruce admits that their level was only the beginning for him. It's hard to understand the level of the greats when you're treading water at their feet. When they came to his house, they came to meet death. The man is ready to do anything to take the bastard with him. If one is destined to die, let this death not be in vain. The Berserker Blast becomes his last hope. His strength grows in seconds before Bruce's eyes. Looking at the man, it's hard to tell who the real monster is. All his life, he was already famous for his hot temper. Out of respect for strength, the guy will show leniency to him. Anyone else in Howard's place would have died a long and painful death. As a reward, the guy grants instant death. Beheading is considered the best method. He was lucky to die at the hands of the Emperor's high sword. Soon, the mistress of the house appears on the threshold. Bruce doesn't have time to clean up the room so quickly. He explains that he threw a small party to celebrate the housewarming. To be honest, he didn't expect her to return so early. Besides, on such a day she decided to bring a friend with her. Lana's inner art resonates with the origins of martial arts. She knows that Bruce is capable of using sound propagation. It'll be interesting to see what else this guy is capable of. The next morning, his sister finds out about this. As soon as she wakes up, she hears footsteps in the hallway. For many years, she woke up in complete silence and still wasn't used to it. Opening the door to the room, the girl quickly runs out into the corridor. What she sees makes Greta stop. In just one night, the brother's appearance changes completely. Now he is no different from all other people. 14 years later, everything is back to normal. She thought that at first her brother would sleep until lunch. However, Bruce decides to get down to important matters straight away. It felt like they had never been apart. The guy asks not to wait for him for lunch. He will return a little later. A car with a driver is already waiting for him at the exit of the house. Yesterday, Lana arranged a personal meeting with him. Then she called some people who cleaned the house. Bruce's name wasn't even mentioned in the news. In other words, Lana completely covered up Bruce's involvement. The girl understands that Lana is up to something. She won't help her brother just like that. The girl is already waiting for him on the cozy veranda. It's strange that on a day like this, there's no one here except Lana. Bruce asks to stop the 24-hour surveillance on him. It's funny that he figured out her boyfriend so easily. It looks like he's not that easy to fool. She suggests just relaxing and having a cup of tea. At the same time, Bruce will tell you about the trip to Murim. It's great that she decides to get straight to the point. She received confirmation that 3 people had returned from Murim. The guild leader was one of those who returned. She has been monitoring the settlers since the accident happened. Immediately after the tragedy, the guy wakes up in a strange cave. The Book of Divine Martial Arts of the Cultivator lay nearby. After leaving the cave, he found himself in a world known as Murim. Sometimes you want to forget everything that happened next. The price of returning to Earth has become too high. Lana understands that this event is connected to what is happening in the world now. She asks him to tell her about the hunters and the dungeons. They began to appear 14 years ago after the goddess's condescension. The system of classes and abilities is very similar to computer games. Suddenly, Lana confesses that she herself returned from death. The games are over. It's time for a frank conversation. She too must witness the destruction of this world. It's funny how easily the girl hid the truth about herself. Perhaps she knows who sent the boy to Murim. He is entitled to a reward for reaching the maximum level. This reward should be the answer to his question. Who is the bastard who made Bruce suffer for 140 years? He asks to answer honestly what the purpose of their meeting is. In response, the girl suggests taking a short walk. After a short time, Lana reveals the whole truth. The guy should take over as CEO. By taking the helm of the guild, he will gain incredible fame and wealth. It's hard to refuse such an offer. However, this is exactly what is happening. Bruce is used to working alone and does not need anyone's help. There was something else important. The guy simply couldn't serve those who were weaker than him. It would have been better if he had kept his confessions to himself. Lana suggests testing in practice which of them is truly strong. He was rarely offered fair fights during his past life. Moreover, the opponent has never been a girl before. However, everything happens for the first time. Without waiting for consent, the girl activates the destructive ability. The magic projectile instantly reaches its target. Shadow Dance had long been in her arsenal. It is capable of creating a huge dome around its victim. Feelings are immediately blocked, changing the appearance of reality. Within a radius of 50 meters, it becomes gloomy. This ability takes a lot of strength and energy. From the outside, it looks like they just disappeared. In fact, Lana is simply creating an alternate reality. Bruce didn't expect the girl to be ready to fight for real. A simple test of strength turns into a fight to the death. He is quite capable of accepting it. Lana decides to start the attack first, without waiting for her opponent. She reminds him of her proposal. While it is not too late, there is time to renounce your words. Her lunge passes close, but he quickly deflects to the side. These daggers have ensured quick victories more than once. She attacks with a series of high-speed strikes. Bruce watched every move carefully. It must be admitted that the girl is quite a formidable opponent. Anyone in Bruce's place would not have been able to withstand the onslaught. Only a few can wield two daggers at the same time. She is proficient in the Dark King's martial arts. One can recognize the light of the bloody path with just one glance. He had already fought against those who had similar abilities. They still come to me in my dreams as if they were alive. He killed everyone who dared to fight fairly. The guy offers a deal in exchange for his consent. If she wins, he will become the leader of the Hunters Guild. In reality, it will be much more difficult. She will have to use 3 techniques at once. While in Lana's space, the guy doesn't seem to feel her. She dissolves into the magic of her dome. Bruce decides to play an interesting game with her. We'll have to disrupt a well-thought-out plan. It was in vain that she relied on one ability. Gradually, the guy gets used to the laws of reality. The dome can no longer completely hide the girl. He saved all his main strength for last. Taking his moment, Bruce counterattacks Lana's ability. He knows how little strength the girl must have left. With such a small reserve of strength, she shouldn't even have started. At the last second, Lana bursts out of the haze of the dome. He expected that this is exactly what she would do. It's too late to change the strategy of the fight now. Even at the beginning, she understood what Bruce's strength was. The guy managed to master all the most complex fighting techniques at once. He is equal to the greatest master, the creator of the main techniques. Bruce takes it much more simply. You cannot cancel the terms of a bet in the middle of a fight. If Lana wins, she will become the strongest warrior. Moreover, she will become the strongest in all of Murim. Sweet feminine dreams, nothing more. It is always worth proving your intentions in action. It's time to raise all magical reserves. The Shadow Dagger will put an end to this issue. The girl is sure that the dome of another reality will help her. Hundreds of blades are directed towards one target. From a distance, it looked like a planet had exploded there. But the flash of light belongs to a different magic. Its effect easily breaks magical blades. Lana doesn't take her eyes off the epicenter of the explosion. She sees that a hole has formed in the dome. At that moment, Lana loses control of her own body. She feels as if something unknown is holding her in place. In fact, she didn't imagine it at all. With one blow, Bruce shatters the remains of the magical dome. The third style cannot be confused with anything. Bruce suggests continuing the fight, but the hands themselves refuse to continue. A second later, she recalls her magic, returning reality. She will no longer ask for a fair fight. Lana felt like she was fighting an unknown creature. Bruce already warned that the dome is only good for simple combat. In other words, he is useless in a fight against the strongest. So what reality was Bruce able to achieve? The secret is that in Murim he learned to combine abilities. By the way, he is ready to accept the offer of cooperation. However, the fee for the service will be high. Only Bruce will determine the terms of the missions. The girl asks for only one favor. Bruce should not join other guilds. This condition is not difficult to fulfill. He himself will not want to serve under the command of weak fighters. The deal is beneficial for both of them. Only now does he notice her injury. As a true gentleman, Bruce is obliged to help the girl. This is just the least he can do for her. However, such a gesture makes Lana think. Perhaps Bruce was not as cold as he wanted to appear. Just a minute ago, she was ready to fight to the death. Then why did she choose such weak techniques? The girl admits that she thought he was a newbie. Instead of the most powerful magic, she used only a couple of abilities. Now it was clear why Bruce felt no resistance in the dome. The assistant had to wait nearby for a long time. It had been a long time since they had been alone. Finally, he notices her near the car. Instead of winning, Lana came back wounded. She admits that she slightly underestimated this guy. During the fight, she completely used up her energy, but Bruce never really attacked. He was only defending himself in response to her attacks. A crushing defeat. Jim suggests sending the boy to the Sun Festival. It is unlikely that he will agree to participate in a simple competition. Suddenly, Jim admits that he has long suspected everything. He intends to follow this guy and submit to his will. He's right, though. They really can't cope without Bruce's help. It's time to get back to business as usual. Bruce will have to come up with another excuse. Greta will not forgive him if anything happens to him again. He assures that there is no reason to worry. The look on the little sister's face says it all without words. She asks not to put her life in danger. Greta is afraid that she will be left all alone again. It's as if history is repeating itself after so many years. The guy decides to become a hunter, agreeing to lead the guild. To put it mildly, the news is bad. At the end of the meeting, Lana gives him the Mystic Cube. With its help, he will quickly gain the status of a hunter. You can try it right now. It's as if magic is bursting out from inside the cube. A little more, and the power of the cube will go to Bruce. You only have to wait a few seconds. However, more than a minute has already passed. There seems to be something wrong with this Mystic Cube. A moment later, 2 system windows appear in front of him. No one but Bruce can see the notification windows. He himself determines the people who will have access to view the information. Greta hopes that cube will sometimes serve her too. It reminds us of the 6 classes into which all hunters are divided. For example, Greta's main class is the archer class. Bruce still had no class. It's unpleasant to admit, but he still has the status of a rookie. To have a class, you need to constantly increase your combat experience. Even the Mystic Cube will be useless without a class. The cost of new abilities is quite high, but otherwise it is impossible to rise to the same level as strong masters. There is only one main question. If Bruce has money, he simply has to say so. There were problems with this after returning. He offers to make Lana his main sponsor. However, you can ignore the formalities regarding classes. If he's willing to be known as a newbie, other mages will consider him a weakling, which is not at all desirable. The guild training dungeon will help fix this. The local creatures look like harmless animals, but in the rabbits dungeon, everything was just an illusion of safety. Greta often conducts her training here. Catching a rabbit requires serious skill. Then the results will not be long in coming. When rabbits are killed, they also drop items. Many moonstones can be exchanged for money. Sometimes you can run into trouble in the dungeon. Bruce is only too happy about such troubles. The animals themselves carry the moonstones within themselves. There is no reason not to take advantage of this. His sister doesn't like it when someone gets everything too easy. You'll have to work hard to level up. Lana is not an ordinary girl and knows what she wants. She'll take everything from this deal. Bruce must put aside his dreams of simply climbing. Suddenly, Greta notices that her brother has changed dramatically. He quickly grabs her hand. Bruce knows a place where you can level up. It's much more dangerous than the training field. There are exactly 337 rabbits below. You can shoot them with a bow until the morning, standing on a cliff. However, several individuals will have to be saved for breeding purposes. In a short time, the guy changes before our eyes. He has no intention of remaining a simple hunter without a class. Local individuals are only the beginning of a long journey. But this step also requires attention. In one leap, Bruce reaches the point at the bottom of the cliff. Now all the rabbits in the dungeon can attack in a pack. Greta had better stay upstairs and watch the professional at work. In the evening, these two will look at him from the plate. Suddenly, several system windows pop up in front of him at once. He decides to put off reading it until another time. I just want to activate magic and have some fun. There are enough rabbits for a lot of noisy fun. Hungry and angry creatures are not going to give up either. However, the sword is already firmly in the hand. Instead of pity, there is only blind rage in the eyes. It's nothing personal. He just needs to level up. To do this, you will have to kill more than 300 mutated individuals. It doesn't take too much time. To train Bruce, you need to have the same strength. The annoying window appears in front of my face again. He sees a notification about a new achievement. Knowledge of fencing has reached the highest level. Now it's time to explain to Bruce what this means. It's a pity that the letters in the system window are so small. However, the system behaves too strangely. New skills are hidden, although they should be described in detail in the window. You might need to kill a couple hundred more rabbits to unlock the description. At this moment, one idea comes to mind. Is it possible to get experience points using only a passive ability? If this is possible, the increase will be rapid. In the future, he will be able to overcome the highest level threshold. It was not for nothing that he spent so many years in Murim. 140 years of training and fighting now work for Bruce. Even in this world, the guy did not forget his skills. He decides to use martial arts to gain points. All hunters must have original abilities. Martial arts are the main advantage over others. Greta was already accustomed to the art of bow and arrow. She wants to ask for one favor. She lacks experience in combat and only Bruce can teach her that. After seeing the fight with Howard, she realized her brother's power. If Greta had such technology, her boyfriend would be alive. Instead, she had to watch from the sidelines. Then something happened that is absolutely impossible to forget. Greta must become stronger to protect her loved ones. Otherwise, why has she been doing her job for so many years? In response, the brother silently places his hand on Greta's shoulder. He promises that her skills will soon become unattainable for everyone. Perhaps this is why he lived in Murim for so many years. Now it's time to head to the next point. We'll have to try hard to keep up. On the way, the girl learns about what Bruce plans to develop. All the warrior's abilities required attention. The rabbits in this dungeon never end. Now he is able to level up using martial arts. It's much easier than learning a new type of magic. Girls better not see rabbits being torn apart. She will have to stay away for a while. The guy decides to master the ability of a special class. He remembers Lana's technique in their fair fight. She combined all martial arts and abilities into one chain. What happens if he tries to do the same? Indeed, any ability would be useless on its own. When it comes to getting promoted quickly, you need a different approach. This means that only strengthening all techniques simultaneously will give results. The training dungeon has everything you need to test it out. However, one must not act recklessly. However, he can do anything. The killed rabbits would have agreed if they had remained alive. He was always a naughty boy. But such persistence is now very useful for Bruce. 10 minutes later, Greta had collected all the crystals from the rabbits. The guy liked this level-up system. In Murim, such development is much slower. In addition to training, you need to read a lot of books. Only in this way can the origins of divine cultivation be known. This didn't seem like such an obvious fact before. The being that sent him to Murim hid all information. Perhaps now we will be able to find out everything. His suffering may be crowned with long-awaited revenge. This is what I want most of all. Bruce ends up spending a month in a training dungeon. To level up quickly, you have to try. Some of the monsters were quite strong. But with a hunter level of 22, you can take risks. My brain was melting from all the theory that Bruce taught. In addition to theory, she studied ancient practices of self-knowledge. Finally, Greta admits that she is ready to learn fighting techniques. She's not ready yet. There is a lot that needs to be learned before the techniques. It's scary to imagine what her older brother has in store for her. Internal resources must be forcibly pulled out of oneself. Thanks to this, Greta manages to rise one level. This was enough to immediately notice the result. A week later, he meets Lana again. She suggests moving straight to the main agreement. Actually, he wants to drink some hot tea. Now he is ready to listen to her proposals. Lana's proposal may seem a little funny. She asks the guy out on a date if he doesn't mind. There was an awkward pause in the room. In his entire life, only Lana asked him out on a date. He himself said that everything happens for the first time. By the way, their first date will take place in a dungeon with monsters. Not very romantic, but it's terribly fun. Seriously, she wants Bruce to grow up as quickly as possible. The guy never has a problem with this. He himself knows very well how to quickly level up. It's hard to see what benefit she gets from his power. If he becomes the strongest hunter, he will outshine everyone else. Lana admits that it has to do with the upcoming Festival of the Sun. This festival is held annually by two of the strongest guilds. You can look at it as a small war. By winning the festival on behalf of the guild, he will lead them to the top spot. Recently, the leader of the competitors became obsessed with winning. He wants to top the list of all guilds. The main thing is that there was a heavenly god of war in his ranks. It is not yet clear whether this is true, but rumors are spreading around the city. Even the appearance of the heavenly god is unknown to anyone. It's a little dangerous, but only Bruce can handle it. She asks him for help. By taking part in the festival, the guy can change everything. The balance of power must not be disturbed by another guild. Otherwise, aggressive captures of all dungeons cannot be avoided. If something like that happens, it will be the end of their own guild. Unfortunately, this feels like Bruce is being used for his own purposes. She wants to raise him to be the strongest hunter, and then direct all your force at your competitors. He is the perfect fit for the role of a killing machine. To be honest, he understands everything perfectly well. There is no need to talk about the same thing 100 times. Suddenly, Lana decides that the guy already agrees to everything. The case contains the 6 mage skills he requested. Damn, she's very persuasive. You just need to fill out a couple of documents to be accepted into the guild. It won't take much time, just a week. It would be better if he started right now. A suitcase with expensive abilities will be a great motivator. She's right, the suitcase really does inspire work. It's just a formality, you don't have to write it too beautifully. Bruce spends the rest of his time training. It's as if he leaves the house into the dungeon and then back. The whole life turns into one endless training session. Today it's the turn of the monstrous bird dungeon. As expected, there are hundreds, maybe thousands of these birds here. The more birds, the higher the level. It is in his interest to destroy every feathered monster. Luckily, Bruce always enjoyed these types of missions. He learns much faster than other hunters. Just a few hours ago, the boy learned a new skill, and now he acts as if he has known him all his life. Lana had never met such capable students. He explains that the skill is similar to a familiar technique. Unlimited magic allows you not to save energy. There is another type of monster in this dungeon. It's as if a new monster was introduced on purpose. Lana doesn't know anything about this. However, there is no reason not to trust Bruce. Some species are actually different in some way. True, there is one similarity that is common to all species. They die the same way. If someone decided to make things more difficult for the guy, they miscalculated slightly. Meanwhile, someone is sitting on the shore. He just feeds the fish and has a carefree time. The assistant of the leader of the Twilight Guild slightly disturbed him. Percy reports that the leader of the Dawn Guild is acting suspiciously. Lana supports the newcomer, who is new to the association, in everything. This news is no more important than feeding fish from the shore. I managed to find out some interesting information about this guy named Bruce. He suddenly disappeared for 14 years after the accident. There was a lot more information here, but Percy got it all mixed up. Howard's disappearance after his son's death also seems strange. Well, I'll have to put my vacation on hold for a while. He realizes that Howard was already dead. The leader of the Twilight Guild, Ronald, almost certainly knows who the killer is. During the time spent in Murim, the boy learned a lot. But in the new reality, you need to undergo training again. Training dungeons help you do this faster. The feeling is completely different, as if magic works differently. Lana understands his satisfied face perfectly, but after an hour of training, his mana remained the same. It's hard to explain. It's about that case with the magic cubes that Lana gave him. He finally understood how to properly use the energy of the cubes. Even Lana had never thought of such an idea. It's worth explaining in more detail for those who were poor students. Even if the martial arts were new, at the high levels, everything was the same. If you have a high level, all the secrets of the world become available. Lana never understood what the point of using the cubes was. However, he behaves so confidently that there are no doubts left. The main thing is how Bruce will demonstrate his hypothesis in a real fight. Lana is also looking to show off some of her best moves. She didn't waste any time learning magic either. There are many targets in the sky for this purpose. The girl releases all the accumulated energy in one instant. At the last moment, she manages to hold on. Soon, there will be no creature left in the dungeon. This will require a little effort. It feels like Lana is reaching a new level of power. She confidently moves through the air, destroying monsters. I want to clear this dungeon as soon as possible. There turned out to be many more creatures than what was written in the location description. A raid in such places requires the best hunters. At the very least, a team of 5 top-notch fighters will be required. Suddenly, she notices something unusual above her head. Instead of the usual mutated birds, dragons appear in the sky. There are so many of them that even the 5 best fighters will not be enough. In addition, there were 2 bosses in one dungeon. We need to get out of this place before it's too late. From a hunter, she herself becomes a target for dragons. Gradually, such persistence begins to irritate. It was as if the whole flock of dragons had gathered in one place. They are not afraid even of magic, which is mortally dangerous for them. Worse yet, the creatures themselves use demonic power. It turns out that the entire dungeon system was broken by someone. Only a miracle can save her from certain death. This guy becomes such a miracle. He catches her in his arms just in time, 1 meter from the ground. Bruce has long been waiting for the dragons that he himself attracted here. He understands what it's like for Lana to see such monsters for the first time. The main thing is to stay calm and concentrated. By the way, now she can choose a roast for herself. The girl had never tried fried dragon meat. Well, now is the best time to fix it. It is better to combine 2 energies into one magical shot. This is exactly what Bruce was talking about when he mentioned the case with the cubes. The guy was a little tired of waiting for the flying creatures. Tonight's dinner will be a delicious fried dragon cooked by Bruce. However, first you need to kill him without becoming a victim yourself. The situation gets worse with every new dragon in the sky. Bruce decides to fry a lot of flying game at once. There is enough magic to burn down the entire dungeon, but the problem is much more serious than a dozen dragons. A portal appears in the sky, from which hundreds of individuals can emerge. No magic can cope with such a huge army. I'd like to believe that Bruce has a backup plan for this kind of situation. Lana is not ready to die yet, but the girl is also not ready to fight with hundreds of individuals. Bruce doesn't seem to hear her screams and continues to fight. You need to finish the training as soon as possible. We'll have to leave the boss destruction for another time. He doesn't care about the death of his fellows. He is focused on only one thing. The dragon boss sacrifices everything to kill Bruce. Lana doesn't yet understand what the main problem is. They fear death, but they cannot refuse orders. In other words, someone controls the consciousness of beings. Larger specimens send them into battle as cannon fodder. Small dragons block attacks with their own bodies. They take the blow at the cost of their own lives. Such self-sacrifice is not typical of normal individuals. Bruce understands the same thing. What he worries about most is the life of his student. Lana is not used to someone treating her like a child. She must join the fight, even if Bruce is against it. However, all creatures fly to the same point. Lana decides to get to the guy right on the back of the little dragon. The monster doesn't even notice how the girl jumped up from above. Getting to the guy won't be a big problem. A little more and Lana will be next to him. There is only one way to get the dragon's attention. Having stabbed him with a knife, the creature finally looked back. Now you can repeat this with 2 daggers at once. There must not be a single vile creature left in her game. The Shadow Dance ability opens up a lot of new possibilities. It will be interesting to see how quickly she can complete this mission. The next second, a magic projectile flies past the face. In the center of a huge dragon flock, the girl notices Bruce. He uses the power blade without any resources. Now it is clear what the astral body looks like. At this point, the guy decides to end the mass liquidation process. Dragons become easy targets. They burn in the air. The temperature reaches 1,000 degrees. This is the only way to completely clear the dungeon of monsters. Thanks to Bruce, they succeeded. A similar trick can be tried in all other dungeons. The system determines the level of dungeons based on the strength of the hunter. Bruce's strength has almost reached its extreme limit, although the guy is more interested in the crystal that falls from dragons. You must not let your guard down to please your enemies. It only takes a moment of distraction for Ronald to infiltrate their ranks. She has always been a master of underhanded intrigue. She should take a look at this. This stone is different from the crystals Bruce has seen before. After defeating a large monster, the system rewards you with a rare artifact. This always happens after a major dungeon clearing. It's a shame that Lana talks about this with sadness. Today is the day she needs to confess something. A month later, Lana's confessions completely change the usual course. Bruce becomes popular, which adds to Percy's worries. The guy is already imagining how the guild director will scold him. He failed to complete the task and is now ready to answer for it. Before he can enter, a dish flies into his head. The director told him to find out where the boy had been for the last 14 years. Instead of information, Percy brought nothing but his ass to the office. Ronald knows why it's so hard to dig up information. He orders the director to calm down and sit down. The old man silently carries out the leader's order. It's time to play big. A bluff can only be detected when all the cards are on the table. The Dawn Guild's greatest asset will soon be placed on this table. Percy once again gets a chance to correct his mistake. He has been waiting for one person here for a long time. The main target may enter the hall at any moment. Percy was right to see the dear guest in the distance. True, the guest was not as cheerful. Bruce doesn't like to agree to meetings that don't bring any benefit. But he couldn't refuse the guild leader's assistant either. It would be a little easier if Percy looked different. The guy suggests starting the conversation with a friendly handshake. They were on different sides of the barricades, but that could be changed. If we're talking about the Twilight Guild, Bruce asks not to delay. He starts out too rude for such business meetings. But Percy has to put up with the arrogant bastard. He starts rummaging through his briefcase as if he had lost something in it. Here it is, the magical sound insulator. Irreplaceable in such cases. If you press the button, the curtain will block all sounds. Not a single word will leak through the magic block. So, the Shadow Guild wants to start a partnership with Bruce. Bruce immediately refuses, because he is already a member of the guild. Percy knows this very well, and yet he is here. The management is already aware of the guy's latest successes in the dungeon. Despite the offers, Bruce still did not join the Dawn Guild. Instead, he forms his own guild. Knowing this, the guild leader sent Percy with a proposal. By working with them, he will receive something that no one else can give. Bruce is ready to give an answer. He doesn't need it at all. Percy can say hello to Ronald when he gets back to headquarters. Bruce is indebted to those he now works for. And also, he despises losing and doesn't like working with weaklings. Percy won't be able to convince him anymore. He spent a long time preparing a speech that can now be thrown out. At this moment, the guy hears a familiar voice in the distance. Guild leader Ronald heard their entire conversation. He had no doubt that the bespectacled man would once again fail at the work entrusted to him. Ronald ordered to prolong the conversation with long pauses. Instead, Percy kept talking. And yet, that hunter did say strange things. It's as if he's pursuing his own goal in secret from his allies. Then who the hell was he? Lana was happy to hear about meeting Ronald. The guy calls her right after the negotiations ended. Already at the entrance, he immediately felt the aura of a leader. It is not difficult to spot Ronald among the ordinary visitors of the cafe. Great news, especially considering the success in the dungeons. There have been no complaints recently. If it weren't for Bruce, she would have spent 100 years clearing them of dragons. Now Lana should know what to expect from Bruce next time. His voice suddenly changed, and the guy went silent for a moment. Next to him appears someone who is better off not hearing anything. Sister is already worried about Bruce after the last purge. It's better to leave this conversation for another day. They go to the place where the girl often went alone. Mom and Dad would be happy to see Bruce if they were alive. But they are no longer there. They are no longer there. They are not around and will never be around again. Bruce already regrets that he came here with his sister. He is very different from the one standing to the side in the photo. You can't show Greta your new inhuman side. This certainly won't do her any good. He pretends that it is difficult for him to be near that place. In fact, it is difficult for him to tolerate other people's weakness. Greta understands his true feelings. She asks him to say at least a few words. It was the first time that the brother and sister found themselves together in such a place. The guy admits that his feelings have become different. These words completely throw her off balance. He can at least pretend that he hasn't forgotten the past. How can one forget how much they have experienced together? Is it possible to throw out of memory something that is so dear to the heart? Sometimes it seems to her that her brother died along with his parents. In his place, only this soulless stranger remained. It is difficult to respond to such accusations. It's difficult because she has no idea what he went through in Murim. She won't understand anything until she experiences that nightmare herself. For a long 140 years, he did not emerge from his protracted hell. At that moment, that very window appears behind Bruce. Murim's dialogue box appears for the first time in this world. It seems to transport his thoughts to that utter nightmare. But why did the system get in touch after so many years? The guy freezes in place for a moment. The system wants to know if Bruce is human. He is ready to do anything just to meet the master of the system. Bruce asks the system to answer the main question. Is it true that the owner is the heavenly god of war? Instead of an answer, the system promises to take everything from him. It's hard to understand why she's so hostile. He never gave any reason to doubt himself. Bruce will tear the bastard to pieces as soon as he meets him in reality. From today on, this becomes his main mission. That creature must not go unpunished. He will find a way to do it. The guy warns that his loved ones should not be touched. He will avenge his sister even after his death. A second later, the guy disappears into thin air. Greta clearly remembers him standing there right now. What's going on here? Meanwhile, the commentator gets the spectators in the stadium going. It was as if Charlie had always dreamed of covering this event. He is confident that the show will be remembered by the audience for a lifetime. They are witnesses to a grand event. The Sun Festival is officially declared open. The townspeople waited a long time for this day to come. It's even more interesting than going to an amusement park. The atmosphere here is more reminiscent of the World Olympics. Lana knows why this is so important to the local public. In their eyes, hunters were superheroes and an example for everyone. For the hunters themselves, this is an opportunity to create a good image of themselves. Many hunters began their journey with robberies and plunder. That's why it's so important to create a friendly atmosphere. However, Bruce is not himself today. Lana hopes he hasn't fallen out with the team leader. Both participants look slightly tense. As always, Lana was able to immediately understand the reason for the mood. If so, she should help him find housing. It's so serious that Bruce has no way home. He recently received a message from Murim's status window. The heavenly god of war is already following him. If Greta stays nearby, her life will be in danger. To avoid such a scenario, you should prepare in advance. Lana doesn't agree with him. He should stay with his sister. Actually, the guy doesn't need anyone's advice. Greta no longer needs her big brother. She is no longer a child who needs to be protected forever. And yet Lana believes that everything needs to be returned back. The way he behaves makes you want to punch him in the face. If her brother said that, Lana would definitely kill him on the spot. Bruce was a little taken aback by this reaction. At that moment, Jim appeared nearby. He expected anything but this scene. The girl promises to return to the conversation next time. Although a simple conversation won't end the matter. This reaction can well be considered a small punishment. There are only a few minutes left before the festival starts. The leader of the Dawn Guild, Thomas, is ready for the competition to begin. Charlie can't believe his luck. The leader, Thomas himself, is here. They all started out as ordinary hunters and made it to the top. Ronald also started his journey from the very bottom. Lana had to restrain herself in his presence. She smiles as if she doesn't know his real intentions. Lana wishes him good luck in the upcoming competition. He prepared well, taking the best fighters into the team. Ronald heard that Lana's team also had some interesting people. Take, for example, that newbie who cleared the dungeons single-handedly. It's strange that he behaves so boldly. You'd have to be an idiot not to understand Lana's feelings for him. She will never allow his guild to rise. But now you need to hide your true feelings from the enemy. It is clear that both leaders have extensive experience in negotiations. They shake hands, hoping for a fair competition. The first pair of participants enters the arena in 5 minutes. The fight immediately makes it clear how brutal the competition is. Neither of them will give in to their opponent, even if it means committing murder. Even if the murder could easily be avoided, none of them will deny themselves the right to kill. Away from the arena, the atmosphere is completely different. Ronald cheerfully discusses the pros and cons of a fighter's technique. The problem was that this fighter was already dead. What's the point of discussing his prospects, damn it? He speaks as if death means nothing to the guy. It seems he was even more cruel than he appeared. After a short time, Ronald decides to retire. Larry is already waiting for him near the arch. He wants to know when he can finally kill Bruce. Everything has its time. There is no need to worry so much and rush things. Ronald promises that such an opportunity will appear soon. He will personally ensure that everything goes smoothly. The Archer Survival Arena is ready for the start of the competition. As usual, the irrepressible commentator Charlie gets the crowd going. His partner can only finish the sentences. It is known that a loud scandal recently occurred in Greta's family. Many are surprised that the girl herself decides to perform. She demands that no one discuss her behind her back. If this continues, Greta will rip out both of their tongues. Such a warning needs no repetition. It's nice when you are understood. However, her soul still bears the burden of the conflict with her brother. This scoundrel seems not to understand how hard it is for her. She waited forever for his return. The assistant asks Greta to go into the waiting room for a moment. Someone calls her for a short conversation. It would be better if there was a brother in that room. It was worth guessing that this style would suit Lana better. She came to support Greta before an important competition. It's strange, she used to speak differently. Usually, Lana dissuades her from participating in the festival. After meeting Bruce, her friend's behavior changed dramatically. Could this be the one? Lana convinces her that she is simply worried about her beloved friend. It's hard to believe, but you have to pretend that you do. She just reminds us that Lana's attitude towards Bruce is slightly suspicious. After their frequent meetings, he suddenly decides to become a hunter. A brother should not take this path. What is he even trying to achieve with this? It feels like he's been replaced by someone else. He had changed so much that he no longer seemed like a brother. The announcer announces that the competition is about to begin. All archers must take their starting positions. Finally, Lana decides to say a few words. She is sure that Bruce did not want to change. But life forced him to do it against his will. He was in hell, where danger always follows at his heels. Bruce just couldn't keep his sanity. It's strange that Greta has to hear about her brother from Lana. She knows him better than anyone in this world. After these words, Greta quickly walks away towards the arena. Now my friend has something to think about. Bruce will also have to think about his sister's words. He was nearby throughout the entire conversation. Bruce claims he was just passing by and was not spying. Such nonsense will not convince anyone. His behavior is almost no different from Ronald's. Why can't he just be honest? Greta is no longer the child from his distant past. All this time he has been hiding from the closest person in the world. His sister will accept Bruce no matter what. How can you not understand that? Even Lana is disappointed in him. The Sun competition will change a lot in their lives. The start has been made. Now the participants will have to pass the tests. The survival of the archers is considered one of the most difficult tests. This is why Greta decides to take part. Ronald is slightly surprised by this decision. He is sure that she will like one little surprise. Soon the girl will feel all his love. Greta hears a message about the presence of an enemy somewhere nearby. She is ready to pierce his head as soon as he appears. The last conversation with Lana won't leave my head. My brother has really changed for the worse. In vain does he hope that his sister doesn't understand anything. Instead of telling his sister everything, he shares it with Lana. You'd think she'd become close to him. Suddenly, Greta decides not to wait for reinforcements to arrive. She wants to quickly stick an arrow into someone's stupid head. Luckily, one easy target was calling for his own death. Too late, the archer notices someone else's magic arrow. The arrow pierces the heart, leaving no chance of survival. With such cruelty, she begins to resemble Bruce. Her brother became inhuman. She is also capable of this. It's time to forget about the past that is important only to her. Greta remembers how irritated she was by talk of her brother's disappearance. Everyone was discussing it as a plot for a TV series. The nightmare in her life began back then, but after hearing the call of the goddess, Greta found her purpose. She decided to become a hunter and protect the world. This is the easiest way to distract yourself from personal problems. Things were tough in the hunting army. The other hunters took pleasure in tormenting the orphan. They didn't like her because Greta got in for free. Unlike the girl, they had to pay a lot. Greta made it clear right away why she was there. If an idiot envies her, he too can try to become an orphan. She offers to go out to a fair fight and prove her strength. One light blow quickly solved the problem of pestering. After graduating, the girl was accepted into the best guild. It took a lot of work at the very beginning. She took on difficult missions. Every cleanup was always successful. The last purge was the most brutal. It's hard to count how many monsters Greta has killed. That day, Lana saw her in action for the first time. Greta really did have a talent for hunting. The leader of the Dawn Guild offered her a new position. Colin was against joining the guild from the very beginning, especially if a girl leads it. However, no one was interested in his opinion. To survive without her brother, she had to learn a lot. Over the course of several years, she mastered various techniques. Over the years, there wasn't a day that Greta didn't think about her family. She carried a pendant with a photograph of her lost loved ones. Today I also had the pendant with me. She realizes that something is missing in his technique, but this does not give the right to treat her like a child. In such silence, she can easily be heard. The girl suddenly realizes that it was too quiet here. She tells her partner that she will look for another point. At the last moment, Greta understands everything. But it is too late to understand the enemy's plans when his arrows are flying in your direction. One of the arrows hits the target right on target. Those 4 had been following her for a long time. They use real arrows, which was forbidden. It looks like someone promised them protection. Otherwise, they would not have agreed to participate in a real murder. Nothing prevents her from responding in kind. Greta rips the arrow out of her hand in front of 4 archers. They created problems for themselves in order to catch one person. Now they have to experience her shooting skills for themselves. The difference is that Greta intends to shoot straight in the head. Seeing danger, the guy gives the order to fire a volley. A dozen arrows are heading her way. It's foolish to hope that this will help them. In addition to excellent shooting, the girl has mastered the art of defense. She easily dodges the attack, preparing to fire back. The ability of scattered flying arrows will be able to surprise them. Each of the arrows is filled with magical energy. He might not have seen this if he had come to his senses in time. Snipers learn fast attacks from the first steps of training. Some of them, in addition to regular bows, have crossbows. When fighting against a small group of opponents, a bow is sufficient. One of them manages to fire back. Greta does lose concentration for a while, but after a few seconds she is ready to punish the scoundrel. In an open firefight, he has nothing to answer a real master with. The arrow passes within centimeters of the face. A little more, and the boomerang strike would have taken his head off. The guy was lucky that the shot was taken from an awkward position. He lands not far from that place. Instead of creating a magical barrier, he wastes time chatting. Such arrows do not last too long. They are easily eliminated from the game when the opponent is a professional. Greta never misses an opportunity to finish off her opponent. There are still a few remaining daredevils to deal with. One of them is getting ready to do his signature trick. Fire arrows can temporarily render an opponent unconscious. The girl didn't expect that they had such arrows in their arsenal. She remembers her brother's last words about using martial arts. In moments of heightened danger, the bow should be discarded. You can't be afraid of hand-to-hand combat if it's the only way. Unlike Greta, this sniper does not have such a brother. He is not prepared to fight in close combat using magic. The hardest blow hits him right on the jaw. He will remember this meeting for a long time if he is able to rise. For the first time, Greta is able to use several combat techniques. There is still someone here who you can try again on. Her partner can take on this task. He quickly ends the fight by shooting the guy in the back of the head. I should have come to her aid a little earlier. Greta could easily have carried the matter through. Today, the Guild of Dawn is officially recognized as the winner of the festival. All 4 players were able to reach the final of the competition. Hunter Greta single-handedly dealt with a group of snipers. After such a performance, there will be many more fans. The sniper's skill has become even higher, although it was already high. At this time, Greta hears the sound of a helicopter propeller. The one who makes it possible to win flies through the sky. It was Bruce who taught her martial arts before the festival began. She was able to remember his lessons in a critical situation. To be honest, the guy had to be patient. It is difficult to retrain someone who has been using the same technology all his life. And yet, he succeeded, and the result was achieved. Greta always dreamed of being as strong as her brother. Perhaps it's enough to treat her like a little child. Bruce is confident that she became strong thanks to his example. It was lucky that the leader of another guild did not participate in the festival. Ronald merely watched the competition. It was the first time he saw several martial arts combined. It will be hard to pretend that nothing has changed in Ronald's life. On such a sunny day, I want to talk about good things. Greta hopes her brother will appreciate her execution of the blow. Not bad, but the attack could have been better. It's hard to get even one kind word out of him. Suddenly, she hears Bruce's tone change abruptly. He truly recognizes her talent coupled with her hard work. The guy apologizes for hiding too much from her. He considered her a little girl who needed to be protected. As she grew older, Greta herself became capable of protecting others. The girl became a hunter, only to become strong. After her brother disappeared, she had to change. Eventually, she became the best sniper and leader of the Hunters Guild. Bruce has only one promise to make to her, if he can do it. He will never leave her alone again like he did in the past. And there is no need to hide anything. Greta is no longer a child. The girl proved this by winning the competition. He will never leave her alone again, no matter what happens. Bruce decides to reveal the first secret right now. In Murim, everyone called him the Immortal Sword Emperor. It sounds funny. However, Greta doesn't find this funny at all. She realizes that the great warrior of legends is her own brother. Meanwhile, stadium spectators are being urged to return to their seats. In an hour, the final battle will begin, and Bruce will have to take part in it. Finally, he remembers his sister's last fight. A group of snipers seemed to be in collusion and were targeting Greta. She claims that she herself followed the group on their trail. But the guy realizes that the guys were being too open about their hostility. The fame of Bruce himself quickly spreads throughout the city. Thomas welcomes his new young ally. In a great battle, he offers to take charge of the vanguard. It feels like the leader of the Dawn Guild has been drinking too many energy drinks. He cheerfully gives instructions to his charges. Finally, Thomas says goodbye to them until the end of the festival. Each of them owes a lot to this man. By the way, Bruce now owes a lot to Lana for her participation. The girl managed to reconcile her brother and sister after a serious quarrel. Even if she has her own goals, she still did some good. It is said that the members of the Dawn Guild were incredibly talented. However, almost all the attention goes to the newcomer. There is a person who deserves special attention. Ronald suddenly shows up in the guild room. He is glad that he will witness a bright performance today. The guy warns that this is a friendly match. It's hard to believe in the camaraderie between two warring guilds. Okay, the camaraderie legend didn't work. He admits that he came here to spy on his rivals. Ronald considers the guild's new recruit to be the main one. They meet for the first time, but it's as if they have already met sometime in the past. This thought occurs to both guys. Bruce states that they couldn't see each other before. The guy had been out of town for many years and only recently returned home. However, his sister could not learn martial arts on her own. True, he already knows little Percy. It's not nice to be called a baby in front of everyone. In the Battle of the Archers, Greta caused a lot of trouble for their boys. But now we need to end the conversation. The guy promises to put on an interesting show in the finale. It certainly won't disappoint the fans. With a commentator like Charlie, viewers will definitely not get bored. He never stops talking, even when there is nothing to comment on. For a long time, the center of the arena was empty. But an hour later, the main participant in the final appeared near the gate. There is a round of applause throughout the stands for this guy. I feel like hitting someone from the overwhelming emotions. The strange thing is that all information about Bruce is hidden. Apart from the newcomer's name, the announcer has nothing else to add. Shane can clear things up with the Fire Dragon Flame. There were plenty of daredevils in Murim who used this ability. Few of them managed to survive. Shane may well follow their path with death in the finale. It is clear that at the end of the festival, everything will be for real. Ronald is looking forward to the start. He is confident that Shane will not leave his opponent alive. At least that was the agreement on the eve of the competition. Bruce decides to start with a spectacular stunt by rising above his head. It is much easier to conduct continuous attacks from above. Thomas immediately notices a well-prepared strategy. But Lana knows that no strategy can replace skill. This guy only needs to take one look at his opponent. Intuition and powerful magic will do the rest. The same thing happened during the fight with Howard. The guy decides to wait for Shane to make his move. In a sense, this can also be called a strategy. Ronald shouldn't have entrusted the matter to a weak fighter. The fire element won't be a big problem, especially when you have an icy magical vortex in your hands. A monstrously powerful charge is instantly directed at Shane. The guy didn't expect a swift attack. He was counting on a long-range fight at least in the first minutes of the meeting. But now is not the time for reflection. Shane realizes that Ronald was not telling him the whole story about the newcomer's strength. The skill cubes turned out to be a very useful gift from Lana. They could imbue any hunter's attribute with mana. With such an artifact, the hunter approaches the level of a sorcerer. Combined with your own skills, this gives you a clear advantage. Shane has almost no chance of winning. However, he is not ready to simply stand and wait for death. He demands that Bruce reveal his trump card. Today, the guy will have to experience the heat of his fire volley. It took a lot of work to block the shot. Shane was able to outdo himself by realizing the danger. He randomly throws magic projectiles around the arena. What a hot start to the competition. That's impressive. Bruce understands that an ordinary hunter is not capable of such a thing. His rival also spent some time in Murim. Otherwise, there is no other way to explain his unique martial arts style. He fights as if he were still in Murim. Fire Volley is ready for its final flight. After a second, the ability evolves into Fire Dragon Volley. This trick might even surprise Bruce. However, the verdict has already been given for little Shane. His Fire Dragon will only be able to entertain the local public, but he still won't cause any real problems for Bruce. Bruce doesn't move away for a moment, preparing to meet the fire dragon. Incredibly, he actually did it. After a frontal fire attack, the newcomer was still alive. Many people thought that the guy was already a dead man. Others noticed a new creature appear above him. Thomas also noticed the dark entity that took the fire blast. Lana will have to spend a long time trying to figure out where the dark entity came from. There is only one person who does not ask questions. Ronald knows all about how dark magic works. Even a special move is useless in a fight with such an opponent. Shane was not one to let victory slip through his fingers. He rushes into the attack again, forgetting about the last incident. It turns out that he himself is asking for a continuation. There is still some strength left in reserve. The guy decides to use everything he managed to save for the finale. He begins a long series of furious attacks. This does not prevent Bruce from successfully holding off the onslaught, but it's too easy to spot Shane's vulnerabilities. The very first counterattack bears fruit. Someday the boy will understand how Bruce did it. For this reason, he studied martial arts in Murim for many years. The youth has too little experience for serious battles, but Bruce had his share of deadly encounters in his life. With these words, the guy hurts Shane's pride. Blind rage completely clouds reason. He decides to try a third time, activating the fire element. Even if this ending is his last, the guy is ready to take the risk. The fire dragon's fury march rushes towards Bruce. Now Shane looks more like a desperate psychopath. A minute ago, he only entertained the crowd with the same attack. Will this fiery salvo really change anything? A dragon can only scare an inexperienced beginner. Even if the stadium burns to the ground, it won't kill Bruce. He seemed to have forgotten that there were ordinary people in the stadium. They won't be able to escape if the stands are engulfed in flames. But there is nothing to worry about when this happens in the center. Bruce sends ice clones to confront the fire dragons. It's hard to fight someone who copies your abilities. The guy feels neither cold, nor heat, nor pity for the enemy. He's completely annoying with his stubbornness. These dragons can be destroyed in a few seconds. Shane's ultimate ability crumbles to dust before his eyes. Now there definitely won't be enough energy for the fourth repetition. It's incredible, but it happened. Shane falls to his knees trying to comprehend what he saw. Never before had the guy met such a strong opponent. Never before had Bruce met such a stupid hunter. His stupidity in Murim was always punishable by death. The time has come to repeat this old tradition. Shane himself underwent extensive training in Murim. This means that the price of an error is quite fair. Even Ronald is surprised by such cruelty from the guild's newcomer. He decides to go all in, pulling out his last trump card from his sleeve. The knight is capable of doing what Shane lacked the experience to do. This fighter did everything he could. It's time to introduce the bastard to the strongest. The one who has been following the fight from the very beginning appears in the arena. Hugh explains how such a fighter differs from a magician. He is highly skilled in close combat techniques. However, Bruce also likes to flex his fists. He won't let a bunch of runts see him fail. It must be said that this knight has a high percentage of victories. This alone should alert his opponent. In addition to close combat, he also uses magical enhancement. However, Bruce immediately reads the knight's strategy. It doesn't matter what tactics he uses in competition. He meets his opponent with a salvo of several projectiles. It's difficult to maneuver in heavy armor, especially when attacks are coming from all sides. Surprisingly, the knight manages to withstand such an onslaught. He manages to respond with a light counterattack, throwing the guy back. This is much more interesting than fighting the previous fighter. There is one skill that no one knew about. A jumping attack often leaves the opponent stunned. Even Bruce froze in place in the first second of such an attack. Combined with magic, it can be quite troublesome. In fact, it is easily capable of killing. This was not part of the plan. The knight exceeded all expectations. Now the main favorite of the meeting lies in the center of the arena. The knight seemed to have managed to study Bruce's best techniques. He had definitely been preparing for this scenario while he was fighting Shane. Still, there are some things that need to be clarified. One good attack cannot change the final result. The knight begins what he had been preparing for before the start of the competition. It was Ronald who trained the fighter for the entire month. He is a worthy student and will do everything as it should be. He slams his spear into the stone floor with all his might. It is difficult to understand which technique the knight chose to attack. One thing is clear. His appearance is changing under the influence of dark magic. It creates a giant wall that will serve as a barrier. This looks pretty good. A dark entity feeds it from somewhere outside. It was Bruce's turn to respond with his magic. For the first time in many years, the guy uses gravity magic. All you need to do is wave your hand in the air. The opponent is thrown aside like a light feather. The strongest blow is capable of breaking through strong iron armor. The competition has already turned into a real war. Ronald will have to look for other candidates for the role of bouncer. Right now, the knight himself almost had his brains blown out. He won't be able to get back on his feet for a long time. The local public had never seen such tricks. The local knights had never seen anything like this either. Bruce acquired this skill through years of training. It is based on the opposition of abilities. Any object can be easily controlled by two different elements. And then just as easily it hits an empty head. It's simply impossible to miss. Suddenly, the knight decides to continue the fight. The guy himself told the secret of his gravity technique. He's as much of a cynical bastard as his master. At the last second, Lana notices the danger. The knight was able to get too close, feigning defeat. Instead of admitting defeat, he launches an attack. The cunning methods were quite in the spirit of scoundrels. Don't expect a fair fight in the final. The use of magic will be unavailable for another 10 seconds. This is enough to deal one fatal blow. Ronald's assistant advised him to use this move. The counterspell has been banned for many years. Larry suggests breaking the ban at least once in your life. The reward will not be long in coming. It's a shame Bruce didn't foresee this scenario. For 10 whole seconds, he will be unable to block attacks. Only physical training can save life. In such situations, experience gained in real battles is important. He never found himself in the role of an easy target. Many viewers do not believe that this is possible. Thomas didn't notice how the knight activated a counterspell. Friends are ready to do anything to get him out of there. Lana demands that he leave the arena and surrender. Losing at a festival is nothing compared to death. However, Bruce could not betray the hopes of many people. He knows that Greta takes her brother's example in everything. If you interrupt the fight, the guy will reveal his weakness. This will not happen. The knight's magic was almost close to its target. Another moment and the guy will be cut into pieces. However, something prevents her from completing the attack. An invisible force continues to block the waves. This is incredible, because the guy can't use magic. There is only one explanation for this. The heavenly harmony of pure art is within Bruce. Never before had he felt her as he did now. It awakens at a time when other magic is unavailable. It can only be called instinct in the manifestation of magic. The knight's counterspell is still in effect, but the harmony of art had already bound him with strong chains. She gives Bruce an endless flow of energy. With such power, simple magic is no longer needed. He passed the test of strength by remaining in the arena. Even when death looked straight into the eyes, now it's time to change places. The sword of iron will become the instrument of punishment for the guilty. The knight knew about the prohibition of counterspell, but still used it. It would be fair if punishment caught up with him right here. Eventually, someone has to teach him a lesson. The hardest direct blow will be remembered for a lifetime. The fighter is thrown to the other end of the arena. To be honest, Bruce only gave him a little push. Maybe he became lighter than he seemed. Most likely, the knight lost several dozen kilograms. This is how fast weight loss works. He is pressed into the ground, turning into a pancake. It is simply impossible to come up with a more striking ending. The guy can already hear the loud shouts from the stands, and a sudden silence in the stand where Ronald is. The Twilight Guild's prestige drops to 0 after the festival. Little Percy tries to somehow lift the leader's spirits. He hasn't left his office for an hour. Ronald is finally crushed by his latest victory over the knight. It's even funny that everything turned out this way. He was laughed out of the arena when Bruce emerged victorious. The brat must think he's legendary. Ronald's strength is that he is able to admit defeat. They won the battle, but the war is not over yet. Finally, the guild leader comes out to his assistant. He intends to meet the heavenly warrior in person. A week later, the phones in the Dawn Guild office never stopped ringing. All other guilds want to make a contract with only one hunter. They don't want to hear that Bruce is not a member of this guild. A total of 328 proposals were received in one day. Jim had to look through each of these proposals. It's understandable why the guy is becoming so popular. Now they will definitely not leave him alone until the end of his days. At this point, Jim's report was over, as was his working day. The poor guy needs to rest after a grueling shift. Lana is curious to know what it's like to be famous. The guy admits that he doesn't need any extra fuss. Until that day, he lived perfectly well without unnecessary attention. The girl should apologize for their first day of dating. Then she wanted to reveal Bruce's identity and asked him to surrender. Now she realizes that it was a big mistake. This is unnecessary. There is no need to remember the past. Bruce was previously reluctant to use martial arts, but thanks to Lana's persistence, it had to be done. Everything in the world happens only for the best. His victory at the festival sharply reduced the activity of the Twilight Guild. Thanks to Bruce, the Dawn Guild has a chance to become a leader. On behalf of the entire guild, Lana thanks him for his excellent work. It's nice to hear that addressed to me. Finally, one of the common goals was achieved. Now it's time to return to Greta. My sister is already waiting. Lana thought he would be interested in at least looking at the proposals, but now he has no time for these things. Perhaps after a little rest he will return to that list. Bruce promises to return to the guild office in a month. It's a pity that right now he doesn't know how his vacation will turn out. A few hours later, he is already at the airport with his sister. Finally, Greta got her vacation. This is her first time in this place, and she wants to see the city as soon as possible. Bruce hadn't seen her in such a mood for a long time. Turning around, they realize that they won't be able to rest. Representatives of different guilds meet a new star. Each of them is ready to do anything to recruit him into the team. Some are not shy about coming very close. Martin is the first person in this town that both of them hated. He acts so pushy, as if they were friends. Although this is the first time they have met this guild leader, a little modesty certainly wouldn't hurt him. Bruce often sees eyes like these after winning a competition. He knows that meeting relatives also gives results. The assistant reminds that time does not wait. The guy completely forgot that they had a trip planned. The schedule is tight, but they will have a great time. Martin wasn't the only one waiting for guests at the airport. There are other people who are ordered to keep an eye on us. Ethan demands that you stay on target every step of the way. It's a pity, but your vacation will have to be interrupted for a while. After all, he came here to work, not for fun. It's time to see for yourself what this star boy is capable of. I think his name is Bruce, right? Meanwhile, Martin brings the guest to the base. All conditions for relaxation have been created here and are completely at the guest's disposal. His uncle, named Paul, is happy to welcome them to the island. He behaves just like all the other children. Probably for local residents, this behavior is considered normal. They know how to surprise visitors. Special delicacies will easily win their hearts and stomachs. Paul proudly presents fresh and carefully selected treats. Bon appétit. This is a tangerine. There is enough for everyone. Greta almost drew her bow in response. However, it is worth trying because local tangerines are incredibly sweet. They had to pretend that they were delighted with the treat. The main topic of the meeting remains the confrontation between the two guilds. Until recently, Paul's guild played a key role here, until strange creatures began to appear in the dungeons. Unfortunately, there is not a single high-ranking hunter in his guild. Bruce believes that the monsters will not get out of the dungeons anyway. The point is that other guilds will be able to clean them out. Then their guild will forever lose its position as a leader. This is worse than your worst nightmare. Bruce is the last hope for Paul's team. He is that saving ray of light that will illuminate the dark dungeon with his sword. All the locals are too sentimental. He agrees to help them, but don't forget about the good reward. At this point, his sister enters the conversation. There is one problem they have to solve. It's strange that the problem appeared immediately after arrival. We're talking about black pork and bass, which they haven't tried yet. Yes, this can indeed be called a problem. However, there are problems that are more serious than tasting dishes. The fighters from Paul's guild are in mortal danger. They decided to go alone to clear the dungeon. The monsters have already completely taken over the dungeon. In addition to their numbers, monkeys are capable of magical attacks. The very first attack almost killed several fighters. They need to retreat before they are surrounded on all sides. The damn monsters took care of that. The deadly poison was spilled everywhere and blocked the escape route. The poisonous monkeys are getting stronger every day. It's scary to imagine how hard it was for these guys. A simple sortie can end with the loss of the entire group. At this rate, they will definitely be killed by poison or fire. It's nice when the strongest hunter appears at such moments. In reality, the monkeys were just regular monsters with a few tricks. However, there are worse creatures in Murim. Martin promises to thank the guy a little later. Although Greta deserved gratitude for carrying him away from there in her arms, he has not spent any magical power and can complete the task himself. He tells his men to be ready. They must ensure him against any unexpected threat. The main threat was still the rampaging monkeys. Bruce can't figure out what level of power Martin has. A little more and he will reach level 40. Other hunters also have this level of power. Dungeon hunters must be of high level. Weak hunters will not cope with a horde of proliferating monkeys. Martin gets a chance to find out something. He starts pestering Bruce with his questions again. The guy's main weapon has always been excellent intuition. Intuition allows you to see the world as it really is. With this perspective, decisions are made quickly. Martin is delighted with this revelation. There was something else that the guy didn't mention in his answer. It is not only intuition that allows you to win fights. Teleportation magic helped to take victory at the festival. Surprisingly, these guys also possess similar magic. They were able to use it against monkeys. The difference was that instead of objects, Martin carried himself. In this way, he easily ends up behind their backs. Monkeys cannot possess such an ability. However, these are their personal problems. The only help he can offer is a quick death. Other monsters were destroyed in much the same way. He also has the ability to move surrounding objects. I wonder why they invite new recruits to the guild. If their hunters themselves have different techniques, only now does the guy realize that he has been talked into something. Thanks to this, Bruce will be able to use teleportation better. It will take some time to learn. First, you need to have a little refreshment. Martin suggests taking a short lunch break. Greta doesn't understand how one can have lunch surrounded by monkeys. We are talking about those creatures that swarmed in the dungeon. This is not what she is spending her well-deserved vacation time for. The guy decides to offer the same thing to her brother. Unlike her, Bruce doesn't mind chewing on something. At such a moment, it is easiest to find out valuable information. Greta is well aware of this weakness of her brother. Suddenly, she hears something that had never occurred to her before. This young man is the rightful leader of the guild. He has already reached the limit and is now ready to move to the next level. This is why we need the help of the strongest hunter. He wants to become stronger, just like Greta once did. He seemed to repeat her thoughts word for word. In that case, you can agree to his offer to have lunch. He managed to melt this girl's heart. Apart from food, she doesn't need anything else from Martin. If you remember, these poisonous monkeys were quite fast. They will easily catch up with them here if they find them. You need to think hard and find another way. The guy decides to dig into his interface again. One of the skills he never tried in practice. The skill from the stone was obtained in the last dungeon. It should be quite powerful if the description is to be believed. It is possible to control the target's mind using the user's will. In other words, monsters become living puppets. With this skill, you feel like a circus trainer. Perhaps this will help clear out the local dungeon. It is better to test such hypotheses in practice. Bruce immediately activates telepathic submission. The ability allows you to see the structure of space. You can move around in it mentally, without the help of your body. Instantaneous movements always take your breath away. He quickly selects a target for mind control. Now, we need to give orders to the rest of the monsters. He orders them to appear before Bruce immediately. A second later, the guy opens his eyes again. My head hurts as if I had a big drinking binge yesterday. Need some more mana for teleportation. There is one small problem that needs to be solved. A huge crowd of monsters is rushing straight towards them, but otherwise everything is great. The vibration of the earth was more like an earthquake. They need to come up with something quickly if they want to survive. Just one poisonous monkey falls from a tree. It doesn't look like a mortal danger. It will be worse if there are several more monkeys nearby. The truth is that there are a whole horde of poisonous mutants here. There is another difficulty. They are all very hungry. Bruce orders everyone to leave. He will deal with this. It's better not to argue and do everything as he orders. Greta can't leave him here to be eaten by monsters. Does he really intend to defeat them alone? The girl refuses to leave with the rest of the group. However, no one cares about her opinion anymore. Teleportation magic doesn't ask whether she wants to leave or not. She will have to do this, leaving her brother in the dungeon. Martin turned out to be a smart guy, taking Greta with him. Now nothing prevents you from activating the new ability. He had long dreamed of fighting without worrying about others. The other members of the group only made matters more difficult. They can watch him work from the sidelines. The boys had never seen such magic in the hands of a person. Did everyone see how he blew up the monkeys? Today, Greta left her brother alone with danger again. If it weren't for Matthew, she would be fighting alongside Bruce. Matthew decides to be the first to speak. He understands her feelings and knows how she feels now. However, there is no reason to worry about Bruce's safety. This guy is the strongest hunter in the world. To be honest, he is a bad speaker. Right now, Bruce is surrounded by a crowd of monsters. Isn't it clear that he could die there? There is some sense in her words, but not in relation to this man. He is the only one you shouldn't worry about. The only thing to worry about is the monsters that remain with him in the dungeon. It is these creatures that are in mortal danger. Unlike mutants, Bruce's opponents do not have the ability to teleport. They do not know how to subjugate other creatures to their will. In such a fight, numerical superiority does not matter. News of the purge quickly reached the guild's walls. Lana learns of Bruce's feat from her assistant. Jim notices the leader's strange reaction. It's awkward to talk about it, but her behavior changed dramatically. Lana probably feels differently about him. However, this is a young business. It is more important to talk about business when there is a struggle between two of the strongest guilds. In recent days, Ronald has become quiet, as if resigned to defeat. Knowing him, it's hard to believe that this is true. He will never give up leadership to any guild. Suddenly, Jim puts a folder with important documents on the table. This problem needs to be solved before something irreparable happens. A new dangerous dungeon has been discovered in the mountain forests. The climate of the dungeon is ideal for the reproduction of monsters. Just a month later, their numbers reached an unprecedented level. Never before had the city known such powerful creatures inside the dungeon. Fighting them requires the unification of the strongest guilds. Some loners have already tried to clear it out without help. Each of them regretted it before they died. Huge creatures attack in huge numbers in a crowd. The information is reliable and a decision needs to be made. To get a clearer picture, Lana decides to organize a raid. This information is not enough. Details are needed. At such moments, you involuntarily remember the best fighters. The image of Bruce keeps popping into my head. This is what Jim was talking about when he noticed her strange behavior. Most likely he attracted her not only with magic. The girl needs to calm down before she destroys the entire office. Lana insists that she simply forgot about the cup on the table. Now she will clean everything herself. A broken cup is no big deal compared to Bruce not being around. A month has passed since the beginning of the expeditions to the new dungeon. Since then, several types of mutants have been added. They behave quite aggressively around people. But fortunately, there is a way to calm a mad horse. Matthew accompanies Greta everywhere, rejoicing at the girl's successes. She has already demanded a lot not to get underfoot. Only those who killed the monster will get the crystals. Some hunters were too greedy. One of them decides to kill a whole herd of mutated animals. As a result, Bruce has to save the madman again. If he hadn't noticed in time, the guy would have been dead. Isn't it clear that you need to share with your colleagues? There are enough monsters in the dungeon for everyone, so it's better to think about safety. This also applies to Matthew, who is busy with only one thing. He will never leave Greta as long as they are together. After a couple of hours, she finally tried it. Now she knows the taste of the local specialty. We are, of course, talking about black pork and base. A great reward for leveling up to 38. Matthew is happy to witness her rise firsthand. He is confident that Bruce's sister has a great future ahead of her. The guy holds in his hands the schedule of the next raids. The dungeon's risk is considered the highest in history. The monsters have wolf faces and bat bodies. It's interesting to see what other parts of their bodies look like. However, it doesn't matter. Leading guilds are ready to send reinforcements to help. The gorges are too narrow, which means a simple teleport will be useless. In other words, they won't be able to get there in the usual way. Bruce suggests that everyone take a little rest while he figures something out. Perhaps he will be able to find a way to get into the cave. Speaking of this, bad memories came flooding back. It was nice that the raid leader was so smiling. Fred hopes that everyone is already aware of the difficulty of the dungeon. If so, we can set off. The port is already ready for quick movement. Bruce feels how much this raid means to him. The anxiety is related to what happened in the cave many years ago. We need to get this over with quickly and get back home. It won't take too much time. The monsters do look strange, but they die like everyone else. The hunters can only watch the fight from afar. A few minutes later, the guy announces the completion of the cleanup. A little more, and they will reach uncharted territory. Bruce asks everyone to hurry up and not stand in one place. His pale face immediately reveals his worries. He saw the system window for the first time with the same face. Now he doesn't look at all like that frightened boy. Fred suggests that the guy take a little break. They still have time. It's better to keep your advice to yourself. He asked them directly to set out on their journey. What's so hard to understand? This repetition of the request was remembered much better. Why do you always have to resort to rudeness? Fred doesn't want to upset anyone, but the road is a little confusing. You'll have to wander around the dungeon for some time. It might be possible to do this faster. It was dark everywhere. The raid leader asked to look around. By the way, after the raid you can visit local attractions. All you need to do is survive. The guy is instantly visited by a feeling that he had already experienced. The seals of the dungeon may be more terrifying than the monsters. They can confuse thoughts and fill your head with fear. Fears of the past are man's strongest enemy. The seal is not capable of causing physical damage, but is very dangerous. It confuses and disorientates. As a result, the group may well end up in a dead end and die there. The worst part is that the seals are only found in the dungeons of Murim. Where did this thing come from? You need to calm down and pull yourself together. Otherwise, a simple raid will end in tragedy for everyone. If the creator so desires, one can accept the challenge. Bruce won't let himself be taken in by some stupid seal. At the same time, things are worse in the Dungeon of the Sands. Giant specimens are rampaging throughout the area. Thomas's group decides to challenge them. It activates the ability to increase team defense. It works, but the situation is escalating faster and faster. By that time, his best student had exhausted his strength. He spent them at the wrong time. Now everyone will need strength like never before. Thomas is sure that the monster also has an energy limit. His best skill has already done its job. This means that they will soon have a chance to attack as a whole group. This opportunity will present itself in a minute. He commands the fighters to carry out a comprehensive attack at once. The main role goes to the guild leader. Lana has been the best hunter for many years. After the first attack, the girl completes her task. Thomas never doubted her abilities. He always says that after successful missions. However, her partner thinks the same thing. They have the best team in the world. Lana asks not to get cocky until the mission is completed. Otherwise, you will later regret what you said. It would be interesting to know how things are now outside the dungeon. At this time, another group is operating outside. Archers guard the portal in case monsters appear. They are confident that Thomas's team will do all the work. Secretary Jim asks them to keep a closer eye on the portal. They didn't come here to have lunch, but to take part in the cleanup. Of course, the main work has already been done by professionals. At this moment, objects appear on the other side of the portal. Someone teleported from the dungeon without permission. Then comes an instant attack without warning. For everyone except Jim, it becomes fatal. Meteor Shower's ability kills multiple hunters. It is clear that he sees real sabotage. The fighter belonged to the Twilight Guild. Rupert is glad that Lana's chief secretary is okay. He wanted to kill only those who stood next to him. Jim understands that they won't leave him alive. Reinforcements are on the way, but he won't be able to stand against Rupert. He will be killed as the main witness of the crime. The boy sees this world for the last time. A second later, Rupert stabs him right through. It all started out pretty well, but ended up pretty damn bad. Only one bastard becomes the author of the finale. He acts on the orders of the leader and must report. The guy reports the completed task. Bruce will appear here soon. This is the best news you can hear. Ronald always appreciates employees who keep their promises. Now we have to stay there and wait for the bastard to arrive. Soon he personally appears at the open portal of the dungeon. Rupert does the dirty work with perfect cleanliness. The guy thanks his subordinates for their excellent service. There's only one corpse missing here. The newcomer to the Dawn Guild managed to ruin the whole picture. Ronald held the lead for a long time, but now he will pay for it with his life. The death of his partners is only the beginning of a great revenge. If you remember, Ronald started his career in a team with Lana. She quickly leveled up, becoming the guy's boss. Almost immediately, he began to look for reasons for reproach. For example, Ronald didn't like the training locations. Even then, the girl understood that she had made an enemy for herself. That day, he held a rare jade in his hands. With this artifact, the power increases several times. He got the jade from the Heavenly Warrior, with whom it is more profitable to work. He invited Lana to come over to his side together. Lana explained that there was no need for that. Their team is also quite strong and very united. Does he want to trade his friends for a rare stone? The thing is, Ronald has always been exactly like that. He seeks benefit and makes a choice in its favor. I must say that the guy was really very talented. He single-handedly destroyed the most powerful monsters. Everything could have ended differently if Ronald had not been there. Even Lana could have died. The partner loudly demands that the wounded be taken away from here. They definitely won't be able to cope with such strong monsters. The team has already lost several fighters. A second later, she lost another loud fighter. He fell by the sword of his partner, who had completely lost his mind. Ronald realized that his partners were not here. Only the heavenly god was his friend and ally. It is he who tells the guy to get rid of the extra trash. The first to die was the one who demanded that the wounded soldiers be saved. Following him, Ronald finishes off the two wounded. From that moment on, his whole life changes forever. He intends to free the world from all worldly rubbish. Only the strong should remain on Earth, and the weak are destined for death. The psychopath lives with such thoughts to this day. However, among the ranks of the strong, there appears one who protects the weak. For a long time, he stood frozen in place, without giving a single order. Larry knows what a leader wants more than anything else. He orders the guys to watch the portal until it closes. If the Dawn Guild members attempt to escape, they must be killed. This order is easy for anyone to understand. But will these fighters be able to handle Bruce? The leader is confident that this issue will be resolved. There is a person who knows how to take on such work. It's a pity that we'll have to wait until the cleanup is finished. Larry knows how to understand hints at a glance. He commands 2 fighters to go with him into the dungeon. You can speed up the process without waiting for Bruce to come out. Ronald always valued such subordinates above others. He will definitely return the favor later. And now they have to remove one scoundrel from their path. Larry is perfect to play his executioner. Finally, he asks to avoid clusters of monsters. He doesn't need the corpses of his best fighters. The Dawn Guild will pay for everything they have done. Meanwhile, Bruce is in the same dungeon. They reached a dead end where the path should not end. Perhaps it's all about the magic seal. It's clear from the look of these two that they've conspired. Bruce demands to know what the raid leader is planning this time. Fred needs to shut up if he's going to spout nonsense again. Bruce wants to hear the truth while he still has control over himself. Better to believe that his patience is not limitless. Any false word could easily end in Fred's death. Suddenly, he hears someone's male voice. It's funny to watch the guy interact with the boss. When Ethan started his career, he didn't allow himself to do this. Somewhere in the distance, Bruce notices a red indicator. It turned out that a small but very powerful gift was already waiting for them. These madmen are ready to commit any meanness for the sake of their victory. A second later, everything was engulfed in flames from a powerful explosion. Lana realizes that something terrible has happened. Some strange feelings seem to be arising in her heart. She needs to check if Bruce is okay. But first, 2 giants must be destroyed. Only now does she hear that explosion in the dungeon. This is where they wanted to make camp. If everything had gone according to plan, the group would have perished in that flame. Not far from the site of the explosion, her partner continues the battle. Instead of monsters, he came across a group of fighters. These bastards work for Ronald and his damn guild. The three of them decide to attack one hunter. Thomas acts like a real hero. He accepts the unequal fight as a final challenge. It is at moments like these that a person's true strength is revealed. Of course, each of the three killers was equal to him in strength. It is impossible to defeat three of the strongest warriors at once. Ronald knows this very well. That's why he ordered the guys to eliminate the leader of the Dawn Guild. A little more and Thomas will let them get close to him. This kind of persistence makes you want to give a standing ovation. Even his greatest enemy acknowledges Thomas's power. He can shove this confession somewhere far away. Thomas suggests going downstairs and fighting one-on-one. Such a tempting offer doesn't come along often. However, he is forced to refuse. When you have three top-notch fighters around, you don't want to get into a fight. Thomas will die and nothing can stop it. His people will take care of it. But first, we need to get rid of the last of Thomas's men. One of the two students becomes an easy target. He did everything he could to protect his leader. Even in your worst nightmare, you wouldn't see something like this. The knight attacked from behind, like a total coward. They take nothing into account in their pursuit of leadership. Ronald grew up to be a complete bastard from the very beginning. He does not hide the fact that a quick solution to the problem is better than a protracted battle. But this fight won't happen as quickly as he wants it to. Lana is already here and ready to enter the fight. The one who swore to protect the master stands in the way. He called for his own death? Larry won't get away with it. These two deserve each other and deserve the same fate. By the way, Ronald managed to miss his former partner. Today he will show how much his fighting level has grown. She came here just in time. All the leaders were assembled and nothing was stopping them from fighting. Larry believes that he should be the first to draw the blade. One fight is worth 1,000 words. Magic and martial arts fight against each other. However, both opponents have different techniques. What matters is which of them has more experience and skill. Lana participated in dungeon clearings much more often. She knows in advance where the enemy's attack may come from. It is impossible to fight a normal battle against her. Only special techniques will allow you to fight on equal terms. Lana admits that Larry has gotten a little stronger over the years, but this is not enough to simply survive. He is in too much of a hurry to begin his attack. However, Lana herself should hurry up. We need to deal with the brat in order to help the guild leader in time. This scoundrel thinks of himself much more than he deserves. She quickly increases the distance. At this moment, Lana notices the one who set up the meat grinder here. Ronald chose a good spot to watch the mortal combat. He is not an emperor in the Colosseum at all, but a simple, talentless idiot. The guy acknowledges her strength, which grows with age. But today is the day when all this will be in vain. He is sure that the explosion in the dungeon buried their main fighter. Even the best hunter cannot survive this. In fact, this is a gross mistake. He slightly underestimated this guy's abilities. It's funny that Ronald expected an easy victory. They can't wait to die, since the bastards decided on such impudence. The raid leader struggles to get out from under the rubble. He was lucky that a newbie from the guild was nearby. If it weren't for Bruce's protective barrier, he would already be dead. Now he has a serious conversation ahead of him. Someone set Bruce up by planting explosives containing TNT in the cave. Fred will have to tell what he knows about this. Fred continues to claim that he himself almost died. This can be easily fixed by acting like an idiot. One blow becomes a warning. The second will end in death. There is no time for a long conversation. Fred must decide quickly. He knows what he should have told Bruce before the purge. The man begs to trust him and not do stupid things. This is the wrong answer and the biggest stupidity in his life. The punishment for his stupidity will be his death. Fred is no longer a boy and understands what betrayal means. He definitely has some information. For the last time, the leader begs to believe his words. He's just a victim in this game between the strongest guilds. Bruce was tired of listening to this nonsense. He gave the manager plenty of time to think. But everything has its limits, just like Bruce's patience. He intends to use secret magic for the first time. Absolute subjugation was previously only used on monsters. It's not his fault if Fred's consciousness ends. He will remain insane forever, but he only has himself to blame. After being subdued, Fred reveals his connection to the Twilight Guild. The main task was to maintain their authority. Until one day, everything was going well, and Fred benefited from it. That day, Ethan came to the office at Ronald's personal request. The guy said that he was his leader's death sentence. For a moment, Fred couldn't understand what was going on here. The incredible aura was not like that of a human. After this, an order was received to carry out any orders from Ronald. The Twilight Guild has completely enslaved them. According to the plan, Fred was supposed to lead the guy into the dungeon. Along with him, Fred himself was supposed to die. The Twilight Guild must be destroyed and disbanded. He asks the subordinate to move away from the leader. You shouldn't stand like a pillar in front of the magic ball. It's slightly obscured where the ball was aimed. A second later, Bruce releases a beam of powerful energy. Magical light falls into the rubble of the dungeon. Just a little more, and the matter will be finished. The passage is ready. There is no need to stay in this cave. It seems like the guy could have made a hole in the gorge before. He deliberately delayed the time to interrogate the leader of the raid. The problem is that these three will have to stay here. One must pay for one's sins, and the payment will be their death. He will never forgive betrayal. They need to wake Fred up if they want to get out of here. The guys realize that this is much more difficult to do than it seems. Bruce lived in a cave for 10 years. They should be able to cope too. It's nice to go out into freedom to the plaintive cries of the doomed. Soon he will meet friends who have been waiting a little too long for his return. We just need to deal with one bastard. The ability to clone yourself came as a bit of a surprise. It's hard to spot the real Larry among the many copies. It's foolish to waste valuable skills on this. She values things too highly that it is a pity to waste them on some idiots. Surely the guy expected a different attitude towards himself. He is ready to kill anyone who thinks he is above Larry. Ronald is guilty of the same thing, infecting his student with it. The moonlight of the bloody path will guide him on the true path. The desert had never seen such fights before. Both magicians moved so quickly as if they were in outer space. Larry didn't heed the girl's warning and was ready to fight. At least we need to catch up with her first. Lana's reaction speed can really impress anyone. Larry watches her closely, waiting for the right moment. The attack follows as soon as the moment has been found. I must say, he got it quite accurately. The girl was unable to escape his shot. Only one of the three appearances hid the real Larry. Perhaps we should get rid of all the appearances indiscriminately. She knows that the copy cannot attack like the original. Still, we have to give him credit. The guy prepared well before the fight. He manages to confuse Lana for a while. Sometimes this time determines which of the two rivals will survive. At the end of the attack, Larry activates the origin skill. A second later, his hand turns into a poisonous spear. No matter how this magic works, you need to counterattack. The problem is that the guy is developing before her eyes. He is a really great fighter and a tough opponent. Today was the main test of her life. The price of just one mistake would be her own life. However, she is ready to pass this exam with flying colors. I have to thank one idiot for giving me the opportunity to test myself. Long ago, it was Lana who became Larry's teacher. In that case, this duel was between a student and a mentor. At first, the guy decides to remind me of something. Students often surpass the skills of their mentors. The ability to clone was the best proof of this. Lana is sure that such a skill is not suitable for the weak. It only complicates the task and wastes too much energy. At this moment, the guy notices an excellent chance to attack. Only at the last moment does she realize this. All this time, the girl communicated with his copy, having missed the real one. If you think back, she really did say too much in the past. As her student, Larry was merely trying to adopt her technique. He wanted to become as strong as Ronald. Lana always thought of Ronald as a dumb bastard who was incapable of leadership. The one who made an idol out of him was just as pathetic in her eyes. There was something else the girl taught. There is only one way to become truly strong. You have to sincerely want to kill, even if you don't get paid for it. At this moment, a group of hunters appears behind. Had to postpone killing one person until next time. Finally, she adds that he has no talents. She advises to quit training and do something else. The guy remembered these words for the rest of his life. Now she will no longer assert this so boldly. A talentless boy brings her to the brink of death. The man she despised manages to defeat her. By the way, she was right about the desire to kill. He sincerely wants to kill her, and that is why he was able to win. Suddenly, Larry notices a magical vortex to the side of him. The girl doesn't have a scratch on her and is ready to continue the conversation. The ability of shadow clones was not only available to him. She may give you one last piece of free advice. The killer shows his face to his victim only before killing him. You don't have to do this before you decide to take this step. Larry was too hasty to reveal himself, which turns out to be a fatal mistake. He enjoyed his victory for too long. You'll have to find out that it was just an illusion, the same illusion as his shadow clones. But Larry's death will be pure reality. It was time to meet the one the boy considered his idol. He had looked up to the scoundrel Ronald all his life because of his cruelty. Ronald hopes the girl enjoyed his little performance. To be honest, Lana thinks he's a bad actor. His productions are also too fake. It's worth adding some special effects to make the show more interesting. And of course, at the end of the production, one of them must die. Only one of the two strongest hunters will survive. At this time, Bruce is still trying to call her. Lana doesn't pick up the phone after 10 rings in a row. It would be better if the girl is just busy. A male voice advises her not to call. She will never pick up the phone again after the fight with Ronald. Ethan came here to make Bruce's phone go silent too. By the way, he changed a lot after returning from Murim. Bruce asks to discard everything unnecessary. Now they have something in common. If he's talking about monsters in the dungeon, then you don't have to worry. However, it is Ethan who needs to worry if he hasn't figured this out yet. Such threats only inspire a fight. The rumors weren't lying. The guy really does have excellent magic skills. Ethan also managed to learn some interesting techniques. They work best when performed by a whole group. The guy realizes that there was a gravity trap underneath him. She is very different from those he has seen before. The golden seal will be another surprise. These bastards were well prepared for a joint attack. For the sake of the mission, they forgot about the honor of a hunter. The gravity trap was a hassle. It's as if your body stops obeying you and turns to stone. This allows opponents to act more boldly. The guy feels his body gradually becoming heavier. He is still trying to meet the enemy with a counterattack. At this point, the second bad news appears. His internal energy also stops obeying him. She seems to be subservient to Ethan and his ugly friends. It was not in vain that they took up their positions, waiting for the right moment. Fighting off the entire crowd at once won't take too long. We need to come up with another plan urgently. Only now does he realize that their meeting was not accidental. Every hunter had been trained in Murim, just like him. They know about all the abilities that Bruce has. His weaknesses are no longer a big secret. It doesn't matter how strong he is in duels with hunters. This won't work in a fight with the same settlers. The guy suggests giving in and agreeing on everything. Otherwise, those three will turn him into minced meat. A bold statement for such weaklings. Their main advantage is only in numbers. But Bruce wouldn't be himself losing to a bunch of jerks. By arranging the amulets in the correct order, you can get something. A new illusory space is created between them. The master who lived in ancient times was a master of such illusions. Ethan has admired him all his life and mastered the ancient technique. At some point, he even imagined himself to be a deity. Since then, the guy looks at the world differently. He kills anyone he deems too weak. Like Ronald, Ethan dreams of ridding the world of all weaklings. Now a lot becomes clear. This psycho decided that Bruce was such a weakling. That's why he doesn't deserve to live. They should get acquainted with another type of secret technique. Ethan isn't the only one who can immobilize the bodies of his opponents. A similar skill is available to other people from Murim. Bruce easily finds the weakness of the formation and destroys the other's seal. Now the boys feel this magic on themselves. It's better to choose your mentors better. This guy had a lot more secret techniques than Ethan. He has mastered all types of martial arts. Bruce could kill everyone in one wave if he wanted to. However, each of them is still alive. It's clear that he intended to lure the guys over to his side. But first, Ethan decides to confess something. None of the three hunters are real people. In other words, Ethan created them from dead flesh. He's even crazier than he seems at first glance. A healthy person is simply not capable of such experiments. There is clearly a demonic cult involved here. It can be understood this way. A few worthless lives will now be put to good use. True, before this, several thousand test subjects had to be killed. The bastard used living people as sacrifices. However, Bruce decides to stop the experiments. This magician's tricks have gone too far. The magic instantly resonates in the air, blinding Ethan. There is no room for pity in such a battle. On the contrary, for the first time in a long time, Bruce will do a good deed. For this purpose, only one needs to be killed. His target is the one whose hands are covered in blood up to the elbows. Ethan quickly frees his people with a magical seal. They are free again and can help the leader. Although Bruce doesn't think so, they are still trapped. You shouldn't pay attention to external manifestations. The magical waves don't look too dangerous, but each of them will die in a couple of minutes. The hunters seem to be engulfed in flames from which they could no longer escape. They beg Ethan to do something. As long as this guy is here, the energy waves will continue to act. Fire Gold is only within his control. First, we need to get rid of Bruce to save the hunters. The question is whether there is enough strength for this. Suddenly, Ethan falls to his knees. He spent his entire life studying the magic that Bruce was able to master. He mastered all martial techniques to perfection. It can't be helped. Not everyone has talent. As punishment, Ethan is forced to accept death. His formation slowly absorbs all the energy. He himself took away the life force from other people. Using the absolute command, Bruce commands him to repent. He will tell everything that happened in the secret laboratory. It's a pity that this fight took place late. The scoundrels had enough time to kill the guild leader. There's nothing you can do about it. That's life. When these two were in Murim, they needed each other's help. To this day, the cave haunts Ronald in terrible nightmares. Then they extended their hands to each other. But now it's the other way around. Lana knows he didn't mean to become so cruel. She shouldn't have left him alone. Then the heavenly god would not have penetrated the consciousness of his former partner. Ronald hopes that they will meet again in the next world. However, the girl prefers to remain in this world. and it's high time for Ronald to go to the afterlife. With these words, Lana once again launches into a final attack. The shield skill provides excellent protection against such projectiles. The energy ball hits the shield at full speed. A powerful blast wave throws Lana aside. It looks like the scoundrel managed to learn a thing or two. Her cloned entities won't survive such an explosion. After being seriously wounded, the girl is holding on with all her might. Ronald suggests that she give in and not tempt fate. She's already made enough attempts. None of them were able to destroy the guild leader. It's a shame, but we have to admit the simple truth. Ronald was always stronger and was just waiting for the right moment. There is only one unresolved question left. Lana wants to know what happened to the guys in that dungeon. Did he really kill even the wounded with his own hand? Alas, it could not be otherwise. They resisted Ronald too fiercely. The guy always avoided giving a direct answer about those 3 hunters. He has something to hide, but this should not worry the one who will accept death right now. That's right. It was Ronald who destroyed his own team. Lana is glad that the guy himself admitted this before his death. Of course, we are talking about the death of Ronald himself. He has long deserved this fate. We'll have to remind them who was the recognized leader in their team. A second later, the blades cross in the air. Ronald early on imagined himself to be the best hunter. The explosion from the contact of 2 magics was heard throughout the dungeon. Meanwhile, Bruce is outside. He still can't connect with Lana. Luckily, there is someone here who will quickly clear up the situation. Ethan admitted that their guild serves the Celestial Warrior. This was the last thing he could say after a long, friendly conversation. You should always talk to bastards like that. Lana is now approximately 150 kilometers from here. Martin, with his movement magic, could help with that. He has no time left. He needs to act. At the current level, Bruce will get there in 20 minutes. However, is he obliged to help her? They weren't even close friends, but business partners. In Murim, no one even thought about helping. And yet, this girl is unlikely to leave him in trouble. What if he himself was in Lana's place? She didn't act like she was only interested in profit. Lana was able to reconcile Bruce with his sister. She believed that close people should not behave like enemies. No one except her offered their help. Bruce still remembers her genuine concern. In that case, he simply cannot turn a blind eye to the problem. If it was in his power to help, he was obliged to go to that place. The guy doesn't recognize himself. He's changed too much here. After everything that happened, Bruce seemed to have gone crazy. He always believed that profit was more important than close connections. Gradually, his opinion began to change. It's funny, but for the first time, his conscience woke up. He must enter the duel, even if it is too dangerous. A second later, Bruce takes off. He decides to do what his heart tells him to do at least once in his life. Besides, it's always nice to kill another bastard. The mountains are already close. He will be there soon. Rupert has no idea what meeting will ruin his holiday. The portal is still open, but that's not the only concern. The salary in the Twilight Guild is 3 times higher than all others. It's hard to understand the idiot who remains in the Dawn Guild. It's unclear what keeps the strongest fighter close to a bunch of losers. The guys think that he is already dead, and that he called for his own death. You need to get it out of your head and enjoy your success. At that moment, the birds took off from their places. The boys are trying to make out at least something among the thickets. They should take a closer look if they value their lives. Something terrible was approaching them straight from the forest. At the last second, he sees it. What's much worse for him is that it sees him too. The most terrible nightmare appears in the form of a famous hunter. A couple of minutes ago, the guys thought Bruce was a dead loser. Now it's hard to say which of them will be lucky enough to survive. At the same time, the fight with Ronald was in full swing. He is sure that Lana will soon use up all her energy reserves. She fights bravely, but the forces are unequal. Just a little more and he will complete his dirty work. Lana is still trying to perform an attack in the air. However, the dagger is easily destroyed by magic. Ronald left her without a weapon in her hands. Now he is able to finish her off with his bare hands. The guy grabs her head tightly and drags her to the ground with him. There is only rage in his eyes and not a drop of reason. He crashes into the ground at full speed along with the girl. Such a blow would have buried anyone in Lana's place. She's holding up well. That's worthy of respect. If she has no more trump cards left at her disposal, this warrior's days are numbered. Now it should be clear to her which of the two was right. If not, he can explain it even more clearly. Ronald had already warned that it was more profitable to serve under the Heavenly Warrior. Lana would have saved not only her position, but also her own life. However, she so ineptly squandered this benefit. Lana believes that it is better to accept death than to go with the killers. All his life he behaved like a boy who was offended by the world. Someday he will realize that the Heavenly Warrior is simply using him. Ronald will be faced with the choice that the girl made. The main target was not Ronald at all. He is too weak. It is Bruce who is needed by the one whom Ronald idolizes. In other words, he will get rid of his current leader. Suddenly, the guy declares that Lana is slightly mistaken. Her friend will never take the place of leader in the ranks of the Heavenly Warrior. This guy is long dead and will never pick up a sword again. Ronald entrusted the killing to his best fighters. Each of them was stronger than the best fighter in the guild. No matter how long the boy lived in Murim, it would not save his life. This means that Lana is placing her hopes on the newcomer in vain. You can listen to such a cheerful speech forever. Still, it's worth taking a look at the one Ronald thought was dead. Along with him were fighters who went to kill Bruce. They need some rest after the mission. Unfortunately, they failed miserably in the contract killing. Now Bruce can see the main customer. It is impossible to imagine more joyful news. Lana had no doubt that Ronald could not be trusted. This man will save more than one life. It is too early for him to die. You'll have to believe that Ethan lost to him in a fair fight. Another deadly battle is looming. The last time they saw each other was at the Solar Festival. Ronald didn't take part in the battles, now he can't get out of it. Ronald's reflective shield blocks the first attack again. He was lucky to get such a toy. However, the shield is too weak to block such magic. Bruce suggests that he accept religion if there is none. This will be useful to the guy in the next world where he will soon find himself. Before death, you need to pray and ask God for forgiveness. Ronald clearly didn't expect such a terrible ending. If he has to die, he wants to do it with dignity. All the energy available to the guy is directed towards Bruce. Two opposite types of energy meet at one point. I must say, he has a good command of magic. In addition to conventional techniques, Ronald uses martial arts. From the very first day in Murim, Bruce was in fear of death. He was used to the fact that any bastard could stab him in the back. Unlike this world, in Murim, everyone has magic. Ronald's abilities are too insignificant. Bruce had to outdo himself to survive. He intends to show all the abilities he has learned. The soaring sky dragons was the first of them. This wave of energy is enough to smear Ronald. The stream is approaching him at an incredible speed. It's a shame that a talented fighter has embraced the dark side. Ronald is still trying to reach the sword. He is confident that the Heavenly Warrior will grant him strength. The guy puts the last of his energy into the last blow. A worthy finale to a fight between two worthy fighters. For a long time, Lana tries to see at least something. There is nothing to see here except clouds of smoke. Suddenly, she hears a familiar male voice. It turned out that the head of the Dawn Guild was still alive. She rushes to him, hoping that the other boys were safe too. Unfortunately, no one except Thomas survived the meat grinder. All the fighters fought with dignity, but fell under the onslaught of the enemy. This enemy was the one who was once considered a loyal ally. It's hard to fight the best alone, but help arrived in time. Shane doesn't understand what happened in this place. Someone appears nearby who can explain it. Bruce simply attacked with two abilities, hence the rumble. Shane didn't expect to see him here, considering the guy to be long dead. Ronald thought so too in his stupidity. He has not yet had time to recover, and his people will continue the fight. Two of the strongest fighters must cope with this. He orders the guys to attack from two sides at once. Ronald can't come up with anything more original. Two fighters can actually attack from different sides. Ronald demands that the boys stop this circus. He doesn't yet know what his students are capable of. The element of fire has long since reached its peak in Shane's hands. The knight was not far behind, possessing two techniques. With opponents like these, it's best to forget about any hope of winning. It's good when a team only has talented warriors. A second later, the guy had to forget his words. Meanwhile, help was already close. The explosion happened near the mountains, which means Bruce is here. Unfortunately, help was no longer needed. Some brave souls discovered its capabilities too late. The fire element did not help little Shane in any way. Rather, it added fire to the spectacular show. Two burnt corpses are still glowing next to him. It is impossible to imagine what the guild leader sees with his own eyes. This guy is even stronger than what people around here said. There is still enough strength for a mortal duel with the customer. Ronald decided to get rid of him with someone else's help. He preferred not to dirty his hands with the corpse, but Bruce understood his dirty thoughts from the first day. He's just a vain bastard who decided to get rid of the strongest. It's too late to ask for mercy after so many crimes. Death is already here and looking him in the eyes. Both rivals have waited too long for this day. Ronald's entire body is filled with energy. He is ready to throw it out by completing the task. The Celestial Warrior grants power that can wipe anyone into dust. It turns out he still has a few aces up his sleeve. He clings to his life so much that he looks even more pathetic. In the hands of the Heavenly Warrior, the boy was just a tool. He once wanted to make Bruce into the same kind of weapon. True, he was smart enough to realize this in time. Ronald is blinded by the thirst for superiority and revenge over his enemies. They could have fought side by side if he had been a little smarter. Instead of an alliance, he is destined for a one-way ticket. It is foolish to hope for a different ending to your miserable life. The guy takes off, rushing towards Bruce. He is confident that there is enough strength for the final attack. Bruce decides to remind about the sword, endowed with magic. It wasn't only magical abilities that had to be studied in Murim. It is impossible to defeat the strongest with simple magic. Unlike Ronald, he understands this. Well, it's time to move from threats to murder. You just have to wait until your opponent gets close. He decides to attack first in close combat. The blade of the sword almost touches Bruce's face. Looks like someone was just unlucky today. Ronald's blade can now be dropped. It breaks against the magical barrier as easily as fragile crystal. His funny toy hardly gives him any energy anymore. If the amulet was the only trump card, the guy faces one thing. There was a lot I wanted to do with the bastard, but Bruce starts with something simple. He had accumulated many questions for the main traitor. He will definitely tell everything if he wants to live. The main question is who is hiding under the mask of the Heavenly Warrior. It is only because of this question that he is not yet in the afterlife. The guy activates the absolute control ability. Ronald has been following the Heavenly Warrior all his life. Now it's time to answer who this bastard is. He learns that it was the Celestial Warrior who sent them to Murim. Suddenly, something changed in Ronald's system window. For the first time in a long time, the gentleman loses contact with him. Bruce realizes that the answer has changed a lot. Perhaps he is destined to meet him. Ronald acts like he's gone crazy for a few seconds. The chains bind not only Ronald but Bruce himself. A moment later, he finds himself in a familiar place. Someone managed to chain the guy with thick chains to the stone wall of the gorge. It's incredible, but this is happening in reality. Usually the damn cave only appeared to him in nightmares. Everything fits together. This is the very same cave from Murim. He found himself here again, just as he had been 140 years ago. The silence is broken by a disgusting male voice. With the help of the soul sword, Ronald created his own world. Bruce becomes the first guest in his illusory world. This is their first meeting face to face. However, he had seen Ronald's disgusting face 100 times already. First, he asks him to calm down. Only now does Bruce begin to guess about everything. It can be assumed that there is a Heavenly Warrior next to him. He has a lot of questions about this. The first time he is ready to answer any question of interest. The main question is, how fun is it to watch suffering? Is it true that the Heavenly Warrior enjoys torturing people? In his illusory world, all people are lonely and unhappy. He witnessed Bruce's suffering with his own eyes. From the first to the last day, there was only hell. For 140 years, another person's pain was entertainment for him. For a moment, the Heavenly Warrior doesn't know what to answer. The accusations are quite fair, but there is something else. Bruce doesn't realize how boring his life is. This kind of boredom makes you want to die as soon as possible. He waited patiently for the guy's level to reach its maximum. At this level, it is stupid to continue to remain human. His suffering must not go in vain. It's funny to hear words of pity from a ruthless scoundrel. For a long time, Bruce tried to imagine his appearance. He imagined the Celestial Warrior a little differently. Now it turns out that all these years he was just entertaining him. He should have known how their first meeting would end. Bruce will destroy him right now if he breaks free from his chains. By the way, in 140 years the guy also mastered the magic of illusion. Why break chains when you can break the illusory world? A second later, he delivers a powerful blow, while still in the same place. The Celestial Warrior must not have expected such an outcome. The amulet becomes just a trinket with nothing in it. Even now, the voice continues to speak to the boy. The Heavenly Warrior calls on him to come to his senses and heed the words. He must break the usual human boundaries. Otherwise, he will lose everything he has gained over 140 years. Only in Murim could the boy find his power. Lana sees Bruce's behavior begin to change. It's as if he is under the influence of an invisible being. It's hard to resist such a temptation. Percy's next day starts out a little unusual. He learns of the complete failure and closure of the Twilight Guild. After what happened, the leaders announce the dissolution of the organization. Not a single meeting will take place in this conference room again. Most of the high-level hunters have fallen. They died fighting for their leader. Ronald was the last to fall. Soon the remnants of the Twilight Guild will join the Dawn Guild. The most interesting story was about Dawn's chief secretary. Jim played dead during the attack and was able to survive. By healing himself, he bought himself some time. The integration of the two major guilds ended in favor of Dawn. The assistant informs that the conference has already started. For Bruce, this event was a little unusual. He rarely appears in public. By the way, Lana knows about tea varieties. True, he doesn't like too much sugar in his drinks. Lana decides to get to the main point because changes are coming to the guild. It's not scary that some guilds still haven't recognized Dawn's leadership. It's only a matter of time before they too come to terms with it. After eliminating the leader of the Twilight Guild, they have no choice. Many worked in secret at the behest of Ronald and his men. The last words remind Bruce of that fateful meeting. The Celestial Warrior offered him a path to ascension. He predicted his death if the boy did not renounce everything human. And yet, there is enough sugar in this wonderful tea for a whole company. Lana invites him to look at something interesting. A secret safe was discovered in the room of the leader of the Twilight Guild. Strange magic prevents it from being opened. It would be a shame to leave this thing closed. Ronald's personal belongings were probably left in it. With the help of magic, Bruce easily broke the seal. It turns out the safe wasn't so secret after all. To be honest, the formation is not so complicated that it takes a long time to figure it out. The guild's documents were kept here for a long time. Bruce spends some time trying to figure out what's hidden inside. Lana decides to do it much faster. She has extensive experience in working with such documents. As expected, Lana had a secret agreement in her hands. The contract obliges other guilds to give up their dungeons. In exchange, the Twilight Guild promised complete loyalty. Martin has already captured some of the conspirators who attacked Bruce. The explosives almost sent the entire group to the next world. However, the greatest danger threatened the conspirators themselves. Then Martin starts listing things that no one is interested in. However, he still managed to say something important. We are talking about 4 hunters who returned from Murim. He has all the information in his hands, including names and locations. They were fanatics of the Heavenly Warrior, working in his interests. Bruce decides to find all 4 guys as soon as possible. Meanwhile, not everyone was happy with the current situation. The assistant has been waiting for the young master's orders for a long time. He didn't expect the Dawn Guild to absorb the Twilight Guild. It's been 36 hours since Ethan made any contact. Looks like the guy failed. Ronald was too confident in himself and did not see the obvious. Bruce had been in Murim long enough to be considered at his level. Such challenges add new colors to life. The assistant has a lot of work ahead of him after Bruce's ascension. The Lord will not allow anyone to take the place of leader. Victory can be achieved not only by strength level. Meanwhile, life continues to go on as usual. Greta warns her brother one last time. He would die much sooner if he went on a raid without her knowledge. This approach to business was usually taken by men. His sister had a steely character and nerves of iron. The head of the Dawn Guild has already announced the merger of the guilds. Meanwhile, its leader decides to get some information herself. Before it's too late, all the names of the accomplices must be revealed. It will be easier if Bruce helps her too. Although there were more important questions now, Paul admits that he is the only one to blame for everything that happened. He didn't know that the Twilight Guild was full of traitors. Old Paul can make it up to you if he can be of some use. Then he must know that Bruce doubts all the guilds. After the incident, the guy lost faith in all the chapters. Even Martin is in a sense under suspicion. In response, both assure that they are the most honest people in the city. Then they should hear an interesting proposal. Bruce offers to join the Dawn Guild right now. Their small guild can enter the Dawn in full force. The offer is excellent, although the guy himself expressed distrust of guilds. For Paul, this is the best deal he's ever made as a hunter. He thanks the guy for the trust he has shown. Trust still needs to be earned after the merger. Bruce wants to know if there are any other dungeons left on the island. Martin knows one place where you can go on a raid. In that case, there is no need to delay. They arrive at the location in a couple of hours. It's a strange combination, but the group consists of warriors, tanks, and priests. Bruce doesn't understand why the mage and archer were excluded from the raid. Paul explains that ranged attacks are useless in the dungeon. You shouldn't rely on simple human vision here. You could say they are in the most difficult place. There is a constant fog over the entire dungeon. It's hard to even tell where your teammates are, let alone where the monsters are. Mist monsters can be a challenge for beginners. The bodies of these creatures are able to completely merge with the fog. Only sacred magic can help to damage them. The extremely high strength of the monsters makes them resistant to attacks. Like mercenaries, they attack at the most unexpected moment. At such a moment, you need to show endurance and courage. Such a long explanation could have been said in 2 words. It is enough to use the strongest mass attack. Then there will be no living creatures left hiding in the fog. Actually, he's right. It's much shorter this way. Near the portal, Bruce is visited by some strange feeling. He really can't see anything that's a couple of meters away. Only by listening closely can one recognize the steps. Paul appears from the fog, the old man barely lost in the dungeon. At first, it's better to stick together, otherwise everyone will scatter in different directions. It's good when instead of a lamp you can illuminate everything with ordinary magic. It is much safer to move with a burning ball. Suddenly, Bruce asks a question that immediately seems strange. He wants to know if there is a completely safe area at the entrance of the dungeon. Monsters have never really been seen at the entrance. The only question is why the guy is asking this. Suddenly, the young man realizes that he is left here completely alone. He tries to call for help, but instead of an answer, he hears his own echo. The fog makes it difficult to see anything more than 1 meter away. The local mutants of the dungeon see much better in the fog. Another second and he will become easy prey for the beast. It was not for nothing that Bruce asked about safe places here. He appears in time. There is still a second to save. The magic is already activated and ready to act. Bruce manages to grab the mutant by the head. He throws him to the ground with monstrous force, leaving him no chance. In the distance, a roar can be heard, as if a cannon was being fired nearby. It is simply impossible to survive with such force of impact. During the attack, monsters materialize from the fog. It turns out that right now they are surrounded only by monsters. Looking around, he realizes that these creatures were everywhere here. It's convenient to pounce on victims when you're made of fog. You'll have to get used to the fact that the air in the dungeon is more dangerous than fire. Old Paul warned us about this at the very beginning. By themselves, these animals are not very strong. Their main strength is a surprise group attack. The same massive attack was the only method of struggle. Within a few minutes, everything was settled. He calls out loud to the others, hoping they are okay. Some newcomers had a hard time. Paul already regrets taking inexperienced hunters with him. Bruce tells them to shout louder if anyone spots the monsters. He can handle them himself without the help of a sword. Paul knows very well to whom they owe their lives. The band wouldn't have been able to cope with the onslaught if it weren't for Bruce. Just now he decides to chat a little. Bruce asks again about possible attacks at the beginning of the dungeon. Paul is sure that this is out of the question. Never before have monsters been encountered near the entrance. Then it's worth continuing the cleanup in the depths of the dungeon. The guy begins to get used to mass extermination. The rest of the hunters just watch from the sidelines. Bruce has been in the vanguard for 3 hours now and must be tired. But how can you get tired when you're just using magic? It's as easy as mowing the grass around your house. Everything happens as always, except there are more monsters. It's too early to judge, but it looks suspicious. Their source seems to be located a few kilometers from here. Once there, they will find out everything. After another hour, the situation gets worse. The fog becomes so thick that it looks more like a wall. There is something curious about it. I want to take a closer look. Bruce asks old Paul to throw the dagger in front of him. There is a clot of energy in the distance. You need to throw it there. Paul overdid it a bit, throwing the dagger with all his might. If there's anything there, he's definitely done for. Peeping is not nice, and sometimes it can be very painful. Perhaps Paul is better suited to knife throwing than hand-to-hand combat. He himself didn't expect to hit the bull's eye. Actually, it hit him in the eye. Someone is suffering greatly from the guild leader's clever throwing. The giant mist monster was the boss here. The one-eyed boss is already preparing for revenge. It's strange that instead of Paul, he chooses a simple newbie. You must fight those who are equal to you in strength. Paul makes one precise lunge, cutting the giant's body with his sword. He commands to maintain formation, not fearing the size of the creatures. Working as a team, they will definitely succeed. The leader of the group was quite good. We need to take a closer look at him. In the future, he will lead one of the elite units. Now we just need to clean everything up here. This is exactly what Bruce plans to do. He feels that an unknown force itself is leading him forward. But exactly the same force is behind. If he is right, the monsters are capable of trapping and attacking in packs. This trick hasn't worked for a couple of decades. They should think of another way if they decided to kill the guy. In the distance, he notices something that wasn't there before. A bright blue flash cuts through the thick fog. He had already encountered this type of energy in the Murim cave. Did she leak through the space between worlds? It's worth checking everything out for yourself. When Bruce touches her, he seems not to feel her presence. Perhaps this is another illusion of the heavenly warrior. A second later, it penetrates the invisible matter between the system windows. Matter has a property that is not found in ordinary life. Paul appears nearby. The large monsters were neutralized. The guy asks to answer whether Paul sees a crack in space. If there is nothing, then it is only available to Bruce. There must be a celestial warrior involved here. He decided to build an amusement park right in the dungeon again. Meanwhile, Lana is in her new office. She asks not to enter her room when she hears a knock on the door. Jim opens the door with a smile and walks in. Once again, she asks no one to enter if they heard a knock. There has been too much paperwork lately. If you leave them in the archive, they will soon fill the entire office. The secretary always brings new work instead of a cup of hot coffee. There was something else about the scene. Unfortunately, they have new names of the dead. With a list of names like this, there's no way to relax. These guys died before they even had a chance to use their skills. Whatever one may say, the matter requires the leader's attention. Meanwhile, the heroes of the raid arrive at the airport. You want to hide from the voices of annoying fans as quickly as possible. Fortunately, they managed to quickly leave the danger zone. Only in the car's interior could one relax. The skill stone from the dungeon required study. It dropped from the mist monster as a reward. Martin and his irrepressible uncle tried to hand over the whole package. Greta reminds us that such giants have already been encountered. The difference is that they are created in Murim. However, the problem wasn't just with the big monsters. A crack in space allows combat skills to pass through. Bruce is the only person who saw her. Paul believes that this is due to a high level of perception, although the guy is leaning towards the version with the heavenly warrior. Greta is surprised that her brother personally met with the guild leader. In fact, he wanted to keep this meeting a secret. It is impossible to hide anything from this girl. However, she will soon find out everything anyway. Right while she was working, Lana fell asleep for a while. Someone with excellent manners greets her with a cup of tea. Bruce asks not to be scared. He was just passing by. The guy didn't wake her up, deciding to wait in the office. The girl's head is spinning from all the worries. It would be better if new names of the dead did not emerge. At this moment, she is suddenly pulled aside. Bruce reacts incredibly quickly. He finds himself in a place where Lana would definitely collapse to the floor. I had to grab the girl tightly with my hand. He had no intention of groping her. He just wanted to help. Nobody is even trying to blame him. On the contrary, Lana is grateful that Bruce noticed it in time. By the way, he notices something else too. The abrasion on her arm clearly indicates a recent fight. The girl admits that she went to clear the dungeon alone. The difficulty of a dungeon cannot be measured. She only managed to suppress one monster with her shadow game. None of the hunters had ever heard of such a difficult dungeon. We'll have to postpone the conversation until another time. Bruce wants to know the coordinates of this new dungeon. He decides to personally check whether it is really impassable. The dungeon is really different from the others. A refrigerator with drinks should be placed near the entrance. Damn, it was incredibly hot in here. Using energy perception, he senses something inside the volcano. It's as if something is bursting out from the very depths. It is impossible to confuse this energy with anything else. Bruce decides to take a closer look at this strange object. After a few seconds, he notices movement. Now it's clear why Lana considers the dungeon the most difficult. In the past dungeon, monsters emerged from the fog. Here they are born directly from the depths of a red-hot volcano. Fortunately, these creatures are easy to spot even in the dark. He should apologize for interrupting the monster from his hot bath, but otherwise it would simply not have been possible to kill him. It's clear that the local mutant is irritated by the alien outside. He is capable of turning any opponent into a charred body. There is everything you need for this. Hot magma can only impress a beginner. It is not easy for ordinary hunters to fight in such heat. Their abilities are not sufficient to fight equally, but it wasn't in vain that Bruce spent a long 140 years developing his skills. He attacks first with magic, releasing an icy stream. Magma quickly loses its original strength. For a moment it seemed as if the monster was already a corpse. But damn, regeneration is also inherent to local giants. It's a pity that I couldn't finish the fight with one blow. Suddenly he sees a strange movement in the boiling lava. Someone gives the monster the missing power. He decides to do the opposite just out of curiosity. Instead of freezing, Bruce attacks with a fire barrage. This attack is similar to shooting a flamethrower. Looking more closely, he notices its core. It took some effort to kill one monster. What would happen if a whole crowd of such creatures broke out from there? The system window shows a strange result. Just one kill adds 3 level points at once. It turns out that after a complete cleanup, he will increase the level to the maximum. Such a reward will suit any hunter's taste. It's worth returning to this place a little later. As usual, the guy is being followed everywhere. Even before he had finished the raid, he felt someone's presence. Someone is clearly trying to find out information. The spy realizes that he has been acting too openly. Lana knows how difficult it is to deal with those giants. She advises not to take risks and to leave the dungeon for a while. After a short conversation, she still has doubts. Bruce is not the type to listen to that kind of advice. His sister is similar to his brother in many ways. They decide to visit the new dungeon together. Greta's job is to attack the core from a distance. This scoundrel tricked her into coming here without telling her the main thing. He always does the same thing when he sets his mind to something. We'll have to destroy the crystal, as Bruce asks. Greta never had any problems with shooting accuracy. After killing a monster, a system window appears nearby. But the alert is unlike anything Greta has seen. As many as 5 levels are awarded for one monster. This is what Bruce was talking about when he called her to the dungeon. The monsters are quite strong, but it's worth it. After a couple more shots, Greta sees the notification again. This is what the happiest person on Earth looks like. From now on, she will listen to her brother in everything and promises not to contradict him. Level 50 was earned in a couple of dozen minutes. This place is a real treasure trove for experienced hunters. Of course, Bruce did all the hard work. Don't worry, he also came out on top. His experience already exceeds the 60 level mark. For helping Greta, the girl is given a small reward. The artifact was obtained after killing the main boss. The cube gives the right to consider yourself a high-level hunter. This is the kind of hunter Greta becomes. Someday, she will learn to sense danger even without seeing it. For example, her brother already knows how to do this. There is a rat nearby that needs to be caught. The rat doesn't yet know that the hunters have discovered it. Maybe she'll tell me what the hell is going on here. The first thing the guy remembers is how fast he can run. His speed after meeting Bruce is really impressive. But now it's better to stop and think carefully. Is it worth running from someone who is capable of moving in space? Bruce quickly catches up with the spy, hoping for an honest conversation. His technique is very similar to the skills of the guys from Murim. He must know something that Bruce still doesn't know. You need to share important information and not be greedy. Otherwise, Bruce will find out about it a little differently. He is forced to warn that this method is slightly painful. Painful for those who keep their mouths shut. Sometimes all the teeth fly out of the mouth, that's just the way it is. The spy told Bruce absolutely everything. The next day, Lana comes to visit. The news is bad. There are no safe zones in the new dungeons. Moreover, those cracks can only be seen, but not contacted. It's scary to imagine what else will fall on their heads. There was some good news, though, as they managed to clear one dungeon. The Misty Dungeon has been left for surveillance by one of the guilds. Bruce sees signs of a breakdown in the old ways. It is not by chance that all the worst events happen at the same time. That's why he raised his sister's level. Greta must continue training and prepare for difficult times. Bruce prepares her for what will happen in the future. Such words can be quite frightening. It can't be helped. The bitter truth is better than a sweet lie. However, everything is not so bad when you are prepared for everything. Meanwhile, an unusual guest checks into the hotel. David has been trying to get through to his colleagues for a long time. Strangely, none of the hunters on his team pick up the phone. As luck would have it, someone starts knocking loudly on the door. He had already asked the local staff not to disturb him for the rest of the day. However, this worker was too intrusive. He kicks down the door, wanting to clean the room quickly. Only now does David see that it was not the cleaner standing behind the door. It's unlikely that the hotel staff possesses the strongest magic. This man came here to talk. He apologizes that the door had to be damaged a little, but how else would Bruce have been able to get inside? Out of habit, David grabs his knife, demanding an explanation. At first, the guy advises to put the knife back in place. Instead, he decides to take one last chance. The panic button will call personal security to your room. It's a pity that they didn't have a simple, friendly conversation. We'll have to resort to drastic measures. For some reason, David is sure that he is the leader, as if it wasn't clear that security won't solve anything. Even if a whole army of thugs comes running to this place, a rapid response team immediately surrounds Bruce. They look too serious. Knowing a martial art does not guarantee victory, just as quantity does not guarantee quality. By the way, the quality of the fighters is quite low. They easily miss all the blows, frozen in one place. It doesn't matter that there's a whole crowd of weaklings gathered here. Bruce is confident that soon not a single person will remain from the crowd. This does not require any weapons, only magic and physical strength, no stupid tricks. The first few people already feel the results. He's a little surprised that a simple punch can do that. It would be interesting to know what would happen if the blow were stronger. Why think about it when you can just do it? Bruce only shows the move once, so remember. In a second, he eliminates 3 guys. 2 seconds later, 3 more were killed. 3 seconds later, the remains of this pile fly apart in all directions. It's nice to know that something special is happening every second. He knows their technique like the back of his hand. Before there was no reason to kill them, but now there is a reason. Bruce doesn't want to deprive himself of such pleasure. It's even more refreshing than a summer breeze. A short time later, Maurice appears in the hotel corridor. There's nothing else to see here except empty corridors. It's so quiet around, as if everyone in this place had died. His guess is very close to what happened here. He too may die, and the corridor will become even quieter. Bruce had waited too long for this meeting. Finally, the meeting took place in a cozy city hotel. It's not scary that the rooms are littered with the rotting corpses of bastards. Maurice is not prepared for such a meat grinder so early in the day. He understands that this meeting will not end easily for him. When you play dangerous games, you have to be prepared for anything, including accepting death, together with his comrades. Bruce invites you to experience what they felt. Simple magic and a sword will only get in the way in this case. A second later, the corridor is filled with cold water. Maurice manages to surface. But in this country, it is not customary to swim in suits. He could have simply killed him like all the other mercenaries. Instead, the guy is setting up a circus here. Maurice must not give in to the provocations of a stupid brat. At least that's how he sees Bruce. Suddenly, a strange smile appears on his face. That's right. It's much easier to die in a good mood. However, this mercenary found a way to turn everything to his advantage. Even Bruce's ability can be used against him. Passers-by will talk for a long time about what they saw with their own eyes. Bruce is the first to escape from the flooded floor. In this position, you will have to change places for a short time. Now it is Maurice who becomes the pursuer. He demands to stop and fight like real men. Quite a bold wish. The guy is seriously determined to fight to the death. He almost caught up with his opponent at the very edge of the roof. Bruce barely manages to dodge the blow, staying on his feet. It's funny that he actually believes in victory. He acts too seriously. But the guy can no longer laugh for so long. Maurice still didn't understand why he was laughing. The ant, which Bruce can kill with one finger, thinks of himself as a giant. This is exactly how it looks from the outside. What will he say if his opponent starts fighting for real? What if Bruce uses his best cards in the fight? There are enough trump cards like these to wipe Morris into dust. He attacks with several magic shots at once. Maurice barely manages to dodge to the sides. The guy does have experience, but it's almost useless here. Only one technique will give him a small chance. The Heavenly Tribulation ability had already saved his life. He tries to break through the opponent's energy barrier, but this attempt was doomed to failure from the start. Even several such abilities will not be able to cope with the barrier. It seems the flood on the top floor of the hotel was just the beginning of the show. The most interesting thing is happening over the city just now. The battle between two hunters can most often be seen in dungeons. Today, they decide to settle the score right here. Maurice is confident that the barrier trick won't work a second time. He is too persistent in wanting Bruce dead. In fact, it is not by chance that the guy stays in place. He knows how his magic behaves when in contact with the fire element. With every second of the fight, it gets hotter. Bruce suggests going on the attack since the guy has decided to do so. It's stupid to stand with an outstretched sword and wait for something unknown. Only now does Maurice realize that the chase was a bad idea. Bruce wants to know everything about the heavenly sword. You can't be so stubborn even when you're dying. If it was a secret, Maurice would take it to hell with him. The moment of the explosion is captured on camera. One of the hunters is just on the roof. A few seconds later, Bruce appears in the same place. He recorded everything from the very beginning after the flood in the hotel. The recording will still be useful to Bruce for one important matter. War has been declared, which means he must respond in kind. The news reports Bruce as the victim of a gang attack. The guy was just defending himself, showing his best qualities. None of the townspeople doubt the veracity of the report. As proof, a recording is presented where everything is clearly visible. The guy did a great job of capturing the footage from the right angle. The scene was soon sealed off by agents. You need to wait some time before making a countermove. Maurice is just a pawn in the master's big game. It was in vain that he stuck his huge nose into this guy's affairs. Lana suggests drying out your throat a little. The fight with the mercenary turned out to be really hot. It's a pity that it wasn't possible to interrogate him using the absolute order. The magic activated the detonator after he began to confess. However, evidence of their attack was obtained. This is just the beginning of a series of attacks on the new leader. Lana decides to suggest something interesting. You can turn the entire continent upside down and reveal their lair. This may create problems at the international level, but will such a small thing stop them? The opponent will easily fold if he sees a strong hand. Bruce decides to pretend that he is in a weak position. Lana needs to help him with this. A big press conference is needed. There were no problems with this. This is her specialty. The girl had long ago made the necessary connections among journalists. Guys easily make contact with beautiful girls. It is foolish not to use your advantages over your competitors. The main event is the appearance of the victim. There's not a single undamaged spot on Bruce's body. He took a good beating in that skirmish. It's lucky that the guy is still able to walk. Now everything is ready for the start of the big conference. Everything was going according to plan, but I had to take my hand out of my pocket. Once at the microphone, Bruce is ready to speak. He will tell you everything connected with that vile attack at the hotel. First of all, the guy thanks everyone for their attention. Only today will he honestly reveal his position. Bruce would have done it earlier, but the doctor wouldn't let him leave the hospital. Now reporters will be able to ask any questions they are interested in. There are rumors that there were more than 10 attackers. It's hard to remember, but about 20 fighters arrived. The main mercenary absorbed the power of all the others. Journalists ask for a more detailed description of the entire fight. It was a fierce battle of the strongest. Luckily, it was Bruce who emerged victorious. It is impossible to describe the emotions from the nightmare I experienced. The main thing is that all the attackers were Chinese. The journalist suggests formally requesting cooperation from the consul. This is exactly what Bruce wanted to do. Whoever the customer is, he must be prepared to respond. Bruce doesn't know Chinese, but this gesture is understandable without a translator. This is the answer to the bastard who wants the leader dead. Ernest knows Chinese well, but the gesture is really clear. His people cannot be trusted with even the simplest mission. He decides to explain to one of them what happens for this. Piercing your assistant with a sword can relieve some stress. This makes Ernest feel much better. It would be even better if a new guild member followed him. You have to do everything with your own hands. There are only mediocrities around. He was going to act carefully, but decides to change his plan. It would be better to just show up at Bruce's and tear him apart. Great plan, isn't it? He didn't take into account that Bruce himself wanted them to meet. There has been someone near the door for a long time. It's strange that the brother doesn't hear the knock. While reading, the guy dozed off slightly. He was due for rest. However, the guests asked to call him specifically. It doesn't look like these two came for tea. Greta understands this too, but they have already entered the house. The gentleman wants a personal meeting. You will have to go with them. Soon they arrive at an expensive restaurant. Bruce completely forgot to pick out the right clothes. In the distance, he notices the guild leader. He greets the best hunter, hoping for a pleasant evening. However, it was not Thomas who invited him to the restaurant. The president personally wanted to see the one about whom there were rumors. Does even the president himself know his name? It's always a pleasure to spend time in such company. Thomas explains that the best guilds have connections with the government, but the Twilight Guild could have them too. Suddenly he asks directly about the purpose of the invitation. Usually a conversation with the president begins more politely. A couple of days ago, the president heard about an attack by a group from China. The whole city is talking about it. It's not a secret. Of course, the president is also aware of all the affairs, but only a few know who was actually the instigator. This will also be a revelation for Thomas. After the appearance of the dungeons, the relationship between countries changed, but there is tension between local and foreign hunters. Realizing what he was getting at, the guy asks to listen. He believes the president is looking in the wrong direction. The guild that attacked Bruce has direct ties to the Chinese government. It is known what kind of relationship connects the Twilight and Dawn guilds. He has evidence of their involvement in the attack. The material evidence is hidden in a safe. Bruce can only ask one question. What would have happened to him if the Twilight Guild had won? Surely the guy would have been gotten rid of a month ago. At this point, it is worth interrupting the conversation on a sensitive topic. The international conflict is in full swing. It is foolish to deny a fact that is known to the main players. At this point, the president asks him to stay. He has heard about Bruce's strength and his successful cleansing. From this moment on, the president guarantees his assistance. He will personally support the guy by any means available. At the beginning of the meeting, Bruce did not expect such trust in himself. However, strong allies provide some benefits. In response, the guy guarantees that he will defend the country to the last. Ordinary people need the help of the strong. Now it is clear why such people become presidents. It takes determination to make such a promise. At this moment, a message arrives with a great offer. Someone wants to recruit Bruce into their guild again. The guy asks to speak faster while there is still time to talk. It turned out that the caller was the same hunter. He easily found the guy's contacts on the internet. It's strange that Bruce never heard the name of his guild. In a couple of hours, we can meet for a personal conversation. The answer clearly pleased the stranger who decided to call. With its help, he can find out something. Lana knows much more than any hunter. It's not for nothing that Bruce chooses her as an advisor. He reports that the proposal seems a little strange. Although there is nothing strange about rumors spreading quickly. He himself asked her to organize a large conference. Now Bruce asks for another favor. We need to find 4 newcomers with excellent skills. There are almost no talented hunters without guilds these days. Still, she should have enough experience to search. Bruce believes in her, just as Lana trusted Bruce. Their relationship gradually flows into a different direction. A meeting with the hunter is due to take place soon. You can just fry his brains with the absolute command. He feels a strange aura approaching from behind. It is impossible to sneak up unnoticed, especially if the person's aura is truly sinister. Without a doubt, it was this guy who called him during the day. He was clearly aware of what newcomer Bruce was aiming for. People usually come to birthday parties with a smile like this. Bruce demands to know the real purpose of the call. He doesn't trust the local hunters who decided to show friendship. Niels had hoped for a completely different start to the conversation. He came here from North Korea specifically for the meeting. Do they have guilds in North Korea too? In that case, it's worth getting straight to the point. Niels asks to be patient. There is no need to rush so much. There is no organized system of hunters in their country. You could say there are simply no real hunters there. The Supreme People's Assembly prohibited any preparations. Technically speaking, Niels is a Chinese hunter. This is possible thanks to the Chinese license. North Korea has decided to gradually give up all of its underground facilities. This eventually led to a massive influx of monsters. The guy saw the number of victims with his own eyes. Among them were not only men. It is impossible to put into words the pain of losing innocent people. Having lost all his loved ones due to the fault of the authorities, the guy makes a decision. He must continue working in China in order to return here again. First of all, Niels looks into the boss's office. He was a little worried on that difficult day. The generals learned about this before they went to the next world. With his powers, it's quite easy to disable normal people. China is too deeply embedded in Korea's guild system. It's funny that Niels planned to establish control on his own. There is only one way to help the locals. He wants to open dungeons in South Korea and use them to teach people. Without the support of a strong hunter, he will never succeed. The idea seems dubious to Bruce, but the guy is telling the truth. He is serious about seeing this through to the end. Before he gives an answer, Bruce wants to know something. He is interested in the connection between Niels and the Twilight Guild. It's very strange that the guy suspected him of collusion. Niels understands how dangerous it is to have such allies. And yet, I would like to hear a direct answer to the question. If Niels is not connected to them, this will add bonuses to him. Niels guarantees his complete non-involvement with these people. In that case, the question of the campaign to the north had already been decided. Lana has no idea yet what Bruce has planned this time. As usual, she drinks her favorite tea on the veranda. The guy arrives just in time. The kettle is still hot. She completely forgot to thank him for his help. In response, Bruce asks her out on a date. Great, no one has asked her out on a date for months. She's ready to go right now, she just needs to choose an outfit. It's good when you don't have to persuade a girl for a long time. Instead of a cozy restaurant, they go to a new dungeon. It's also quite cozy here, if you don't count the presence of monsters. They cannot replace polite waiters. The first attack makes you forget about romance. The risk of the dungeon is unknown, as is the level of local mutants. This shouldn't stop anyone, especially experienced fighters. Bruce has been choosing destruction magic for too long. Lana has already decided everything. Now it's his turn. There are enough creatures here to provide a little competition. It will be funny if Bruce loses the bet. This girl knows all about good manners with monsters. With a few moves, Lana kills each of them. To be honest, Bruce just wanted to visit the new dungeon. But today the creatures are too hungry. They won't watch people walk by. We'll have to kill all the monsters, otherwise we won't survive. For this purpose, hunters have a couple of tools in reserve. If anyone is hungry, they can have a fried snake. As for combat, these creatures are not even good for warming up. Only now does the boy understand what the thirst for battle is. While he was warming up, the girl cleared the entire dungeon. A worthy result, he didn't doubt it one bit. The growth of such dungeons throughout the country seems suspicious to her. However, they were not the only ones to experience sudden growth. North Korea also has this problem. If Niels was honest, things in his country are even worse. Lana hopes that he did not accept his offer of cooperation. Actually, the offer was accepted, but that's not the point now. What's more important is getting rid of the monster behind them. At the last moment, Lana manages to activate the barrier. This reaction deserves special praise. Lana asks to leave words of gratitude and move on to cleanup. You can make such a request to a guy at any time. The items dropped by them are never superfluous. There are nasty snakes everywhere. How many of them are there? Chopping off their heads is pure pleasure. True, the energy of hunters has its limits. Suddenly she notices something she doesn't want to believe. Bruce is frozen with fear and just stands in one place. She had never seen such a reaction from a hunter. Lana hopes that the petrification was a stupid prank. It will hurt, but there is no other way to check what is wrong with him. It worked, but Bruce asks not to repeat it in the future. An awkward situation ensued, and she profusely apologized to her colleague. There is no point in dodging the question the girl asked at the beginning. He should not go to North Korea and work in someone else's guild. It's not surprising that the girl is worried about him. He should listen to her advice before it's too late. Lana will feel guilty until her death if something happens. The decision has been made, and she must come to terms with it. Finally, the guy asks to take care of his sister. He may be about to clear the most difficult dungeon in the world, but he will definitely cope, returning with a victory in his pocket. I want to believe it. She promises to wait for him back. He simply has to show his best. Enough time has passed since then. The dispatch date is still being clarified. Such agreements are quite rare between countries. Thanks to Niels' persistence, the president is convinced. Meanwhile, Bruce continues to practice in the dungeons. Besides him, another volunteer appeared. Greta just needs to take a bath before going out. She does the same job as her brother. The result of the work was heard by all the neighbors in the house. She seems to be completely ready. Greta wants Bruce to know the news first. The girl's overall martial arts level has already reached 30. Not bad, she can do more. All that remains is to recruit the required number of hunters. For this purpose, the guy rides on the same bus as the newcomers. Bruce introduces himself as the general manager of the department. Each of the newcomers is a promising hunter. Many have already tried their hand at simple dungeons. He believes that he is dealing with serious people. They know how dangerous the first cleanup experience will be. Everything that happened before can be considered a normal workout. It's not funny at all if someone thought so. To be honest, the guy could have spoken a little quieter. Greta is proud of her brother and his attempt to work with the public. The exchange of hunters between countries is an important event. This will make Bruce make them high-level hunters. The guy is ready to answer any questions the recruits may have. Deborah wasn't quite sure if they needed to be retrained. The best person to answer this question is my sister. Greta takes the floor, thanking the children for their participation in the project. She immediately warns that the dungeons have appeared recently. In other words, the level of danger was unknown. It's strange that this stops young hunters. People his age are usually ready to do any job. Some people don't agree to go into the dungeon under the guidance of a girl. They didn't see what Greta became in moments of rage. It will be easier if the guys see everything with their own eyes. After a second, a window pops up in front of each hunter. Graham had never met a girl of such a high caliber. That's what I'm talking about. You need to listen more carefully. Bruce doesn't keep weak hunters on his team. Now no one has any doubts about the leader of the raid. Meanwhile, there is someone else wandering around inside the dungeon. Sometimes you meet people who are scarier than any monster. This man was one of those. Ernest is ready to wait forever if the group does show up. He will prove that the best allies are monsters. Weak people cannot be relied upon in anything. Soon a group of recruits led by Bruce goes on a raid. At first, the guy shows the most common monsters in the dungeon. The mutant's claws are laced with a dangerous poison. There is no need to be afraid of this, you just need to kill it. Then the creature will not be able to dig its claws into the flesh. It sounds logical, but in reality everything is a little more complicated. This toad is quite agile and can cause problems. It's easier to deal with her from a distance. A direct hit from an arrow makes her explode like a balloon. Greta actually shows something they will use often. An excellent shot, worthy of the strongest archer. Greta takes the regrouping of the team into her feminine hands. She gives orders quite harshly. It's better for them not to know how Greta behaves within the walls of the house. The training schedule is much more intense than Niels wanted. I had to explain that this way, beginners will learn the basics faster. They don't know how tough it was in Murim. Under the guidance of 2 leaders, adaptation will be easier. First, you need to get rid of the poisonous toad. Newcomers quickly carry out orders from their leaders. Everyone is determined to show their talent. A lot also depends on simple training. Nick is proving himself to be a true team leader. Perhaps in the future, he will be the one to lead the group. But now you need to break your partner's death grip. Graham was careless in the first minutes of training. Sometimes you can pay for it with your life. A harpoon in his hand could make a big difference. He shoots right at the head, as if he had prepared the shot in advance. Deborah still has time to use her healing skill. These young fighters still lack cohesion. They have to cover each other. Now only the help of a mentor can correct a gross mistake. Of course, they train under supervision. From a long distance, Greta kills several individuals at once. A little later she will work with them on their mistakes. Now we need to continue the treatment and change positions. Deborah is already ready to heal her wounded partner. She is ashamed that Graham waited so long for her help. There is no doubt that their young mentor can be trusted in everything. Some guys can even trust her with their hearts. Graham never recovered from his injury. He is confident that they are entitled to a long rest before the next cleanup. He demands it so loudly that he may come across rudeness. The girl decides to listen to Graham's reproaches for a little while longer. Bruce knows how these types of hysterics usually end. He really does act like a flighty girl. Even the female half of the group shows resilience. You can't give yourself the right to be weak if you've decided to become the best. Bruce had similar feelings many years ago. The difference is that newbies have experienced mentors who are ready to help. However, patience alone is not enough to level up. Anyone can try their hand again. As long as Bruce is around, they are not in mortal danger. Energy reliably protects recruits from the invasion of monsters. Everyone is looking for a way to gain power, but not everyone is worthy of it. By his example, the guy shows what they will gain in the future. You can't always look for excuses for your weakness. In the end, they chose their own path. Graham must answer what is most important in this life. The guy is confident that a high level will help him protect people. He wants to be like Bruce and Greta. Finally, we managed to find the right approach. A month later, Greta discovers something unusual. Something like a giant portal appears in the dungeon. This time, only professionals are participating in the raid. Niels advises to think twice before taking a step. There may be a deadly danger lurking behind this portal, but the reward sometimes outweighs any risks. For this reason, even an unknown portal is worth testing for strength. 3 days ago, there were still some doubts. Bruce reflected alone on the final purge. The newcomers did well in those days. They were able to unite around a common goal together with their mentors. But once upon a time, the guy dreamed of his own guild. The question is whether training can continue at an accelerated pace. Graham might throw another tantrum right during the raid. He does this on purpose to help the kids learn faster. At this moment, Niels appears nearby with one revelation. A bottle of wine will help you loosen up a little. He begins to list all the successes of the new group of hunters. The number of active dungeons has decreased since the start of raids. Now even top management believes in the company's success. He is convinced that the main goal will soon be achieved. Soon everything will be over, that's a fact. Bruce wants to know what dungeon they are heading to next. It'll be a little chilly on the next raid. This is why Niels advised dressing warmly. Even 3 fur coats may not save you from the bitter cold. Only the leader of the group chose not to change his wardrobe. Niels is seriously worried about the health of this daredevil. It's like he's rediscovering Bruce's abilities. Besides killing monsters, he has an iron will. Sometime in the past, he had to escape from the dungeon, but today I had a reliable comrade nearby. Bruce suggests leaving all past failures in the past. They will complete the mission no matter the cost. At this moment, Greta notices danger in the distance. The main culprit made the dungeon level even more difficult. Ernest sent his feathered mutated pet towards them. You'll have to remember your fighting skills against such monsters. The ice created by the creature only seems completely safe. In fact, this is the bird's main weapon. She directs a whole barrage of such frozen projectiles. Bruce had foreseen this outcome in advance. He manages to block the attack by putting up a protective barrier. The magic works great. There's still a little time. Greta advises to strengthen the dome in case of another attack. Even one piece of ice can kill any hunter. That's why Niels had doubts about this dungeon. All other locations were just an easy walk. In such a situation, it will be difficult to attack from afar. No one but Greta could have carried out such a difficult order. The shot hits the target right on target, although it's too early to draw a line. The matter is too strong and looks like simple ice. Luckily, her arrows are also infused with powerful magic. It worked. You can relax a little. Fire is the best element in such a dungeon. The ice bird disappears from sight, but still continues to spy. There are many ways to get rid of this problem. The fire attribute is impressive. Niels will get it someday. It is important to use the available attributes now. The fight against mutants will be easier if the team does not give in to weakness. The best way to raise the morale of hunters is with a talented leader. Somewhere ahead, Deborah notices a strange silhouette. They have been waiting for them on the highest mountain for a long time. She sees the one who ordered Icebird to destroy the group. Strangely enough, no one believed Deborah, thinking that she had imagined it. Following this, Niels hears a strange sound in the distance. Now it's clear why the silhouette flickered on the high hill. An avalanche is approaching them from the highest point of the location. Ernest did a good job of creating a little holiday for himself. From here, it's fun to watch a group of hunters drown in an avalanche. There is no time to waste. We must act. Except for Bruce, all the hunters rush in the opposite direction. Only the leader stands in one place. It's funny, but that bastard up there decided to use a simple avalanche. This method can only scare beginners. Camilla has only recently joined Ernest's team. She believed in his abilities, considering the guy to be the strongest. The girl wasn't the only one who thought so. There are other hunters who acknowledge Ernest's leadership. Justin is confident that they will soon have to fight that group. He had heard about the leader's incredible abilities. An avalanche wouldn't help here. In case of danger, there are still a couple of fighters in reserve. More accurately, a couple of 100 trained thugs. The Legion of Golden Lions will carry out any order without question. Give these puppets a target and they will go into battle. It's useful to have such an army close at hand. Justin loudly orders everyone to obey the leader in everything. I'll have to break up their nice gathering of idiots. A second later, a powerful explosion is heard in the center of the lair. This guy always knew how to show up to a party with style. Bruce's fire show will melt any bastard's heart. Justin sees the hunter's face for the first time. In response, Ernest orders him to be killed so that he will never be seen again. The time has come to show true strength. Bruce is also burning with this desire. However, he forgot to warn the group about his attack. It is worth remembering that the enemy consisted of an entire army. Ernest is just the tip of a huge iceberg. All the main power comes from his puppets. The first attack quickly shows the level of danger. None of the recruits manage to react in time. If Bruce stops, he will put the team at risk. It's clear from the guy's expression that he has no intention of backing down. The force that stopped the avalanche was an indestructible barrier. Now it was the turn of all the other fighters to act. For the first time in his life, Niels raises his sword, forgetting all the rules. Someone decides to shut up the loud hunter. It seems he has completely forgotten who is the real boss here. A slave should never raise his voice to his master. Servants who are too impudent should know their place. Niels seems to be transported into his illusory memories. His magic could really impress inexperienced fighters. Bruce suggests trying something similar on another opponent. In that case, he must know who Ernest is. There is no secret in this if he is going to scare someone. It is known that he is the legitimate heir of the Heavenly Warrior. It's funny that Bruce knows such hidden information. There is nothing surprising about this, it is part of his job. Ernest claims that the guy has gone too far in his work. No position is worth dying for. This was exactly the ending that Ernest had prepared for everyone who entered. His ice pets are already ready to fulfill the will of the master. They encountered these creatures at the entrance to the dungeon. I should have gotten rid of them then. But it's a pity there wasn't enough time. Well, Bruce may do it a little late. There is a proven magic for such cases. He prepares to make one precise throw with the clot. The energy charge easily hits the damn bird. Ernest expected such a simple choice. However, solving complex problems cannot be simplified so much. Creatures do not need to dodge the magical clots. They regenerate easily and quickly regain their appearance. Surely Bruce did not expect to see such a clever trick. The ability to regenerate is inherent in many types of monsters. But for some people, nothing is impossible. He extends the polar sword forward. This sword contains a part of his own essence. The sword's immense power can be easily seen even from afar. Birds are the first to notice his destructive magic. The problem is that they notice it on their own skin. The ice creatures are blown to pieces, leaving only feathers. Bruce didn't even get close to them using pure magic. Perhaps one day Ernest will be able to master this technique too. Now he had better admit his second place in this competition. The abilities are too few to fight the strongest. This time he definitely won't stop halfway. Deborah has a lot to learn from her new mentor. A leaf that has disturbed the surface of the water can be calmed with a light touch. This is the only way to achieve peace and calm. It is better if the righteous sword is firmly clutched in the hands. Only then can absolute success be guaranteed. Gathering all his strength in one point, Bruce strikes. The point of the sword is indeed capable of pacifying the rebels. A second later, both of Ernest's henchmen are in for a surprise. More than half of the army was destroyed with a simple sword strike. Their advantage no longer seems so obvious. Panic begins among the fighters. Some are ready to surrender. Ernest orders to return to duty immediately. He will cut off the head of anyone who disobeys the order. If necessary, he can enter the duel himself. The fusion of magic and physical strength was another trump card. Ernest commands everyone to act on command. They must attack the target together, supporting his attack. It seems that this is the last thing that the heir of the Heavenly Warrior is capable of. He orders the surviving archers to shower the enemies with arrows. The Golden Lion Legion must prepare for serious resistance. They seem to forget how it all ended for everyone else. If someone doesn't understand, Bruce can try again. Camilla must participate in this with her magic. Justin is also capable of serving the master. There is a girl whose loss would be unbearable for Bruce. Greta becomes the next target of Justin's magic. Meanwhile, Bruce is fighting the entire army of puppets at once. It is worth saving only a few servants by the end of the battle. The rest can be blown to pieces. Alone, these warriors do not pose much of a threat. They are just empty-headed idiots under the influence of a spell. It is foolish to show pity for them. It only releases a small amount of energy, but it is enough. If that's all, then Ernest's army no longer exists. Suddenly the guy sees something that slightly darkens the joy of victory. Another platoon forms a human wall. They intend to move towards him as a whole crowd. The leader's second highest successor will command the army. She orders the destruction of all who stand in her way. She probably decided to finish off the last remnants of manpower. In that case, you can accept it as a gift. Niels does not yet fully understand the abilities of the group leader. The truth is that the guy is enjoying the moment of his triumph. This doesn't look like a death test at all. So many attacks didn't even touch a hair on his head. The girl decides to attack unexpectedly after the fighters attack. She didn't take into account that a hunter cannot be an ordinary person. It is foolish to count on a surprise attack. Exhausted, Camilla falls to her knees, realizing the complexity of the situation. Ernest orders to get up and continue the fight. In this way, she only disrupts the internal order. All hope rests on the last strong fighter. He almost achieved the goal given by his master. By trying to grab Bruce's sister, the boy brought on his own death. A huge energy ball appears in the center of the dungeon. Only its laws operate within the sphere. Any bastard who raises his hand against a loved one must die. Ernest has no one else to entrust the dirty work to. In Justin's case, he was extremely lucky to survive. He was frozen by the magic, but still alive. Bruce corrects this oversight extremely quickly. After another moment, Justin regains control. The problem is that the dead don't need control over the body. Only one bastard is still standing. He sees the souls of the swords surrounding Bruce like an impenetrable wall. The sword of the mind has belonged to Bruce since the time of Murim. Ernest was unable to reach this level in his entire life. All that remains is to go all in, putting everything on the line. Their first meeting determined a lot. Even then, Bruce intended to teach the scoundrel a lesson. Perhaps it was worth listening to the voice of your desires. Many innocent lives could have been saved. There is no point in angering the gods for your own stupidity. The only just sentence is death. Otherwise, the rest of the scoundrels will follow his path. Of course, it is difficult to fight with one hand. Along with his hand, Ernest lost his honor. Now he understands the gulf that separates him from Bruce. Ernest suddenly recalled the words of the Heavenly Warrior. Bruce is strong, but he is still an immature boy. He hates the heavenly god of war, considering him an enemy. Unaware that he is Bruce's friend and mentor, the heavenly warrior predicted the imminent destruction of the world. Only a chosen warrior can stop the destruction. Bruce reminds him that the guy doesn't have long to live. He will die long before the world collapses. Suddenly, strength returns to Ernest's body. He wants to see fear in the eyes of a fearless man. Demonic spirit control is quickly being introduced into the consciousness. He mastered the ability after years of grueling training. He had a lot of time to study control magic well. Ernest mentally orders the boy to get up. The spirit is completely subdued. This is the best puppet in the collection. Ernest decides to destroy her, ending a long duel. Instead, the puppet starts slapping people in the face. Actually, he didn't order anything like that to be done. Bruce recalls a couple of features of this kind of control magic. It is impossible to control someone who is stronger than you. This must be remembered once and for the rest of your life. While playing a little too much, Bruce accidentally knocks out a couple of teeth. Ernest is a little angry, but he will get used to it with time. He is not one to admit defeat in a fight. You may have to die fighting for your honor. Bruce only lands one straight punch at point-blank range. This is quite enough to knock out a few more teeth, but it's not enough for Bruce to enjoy revenge. In addition to the first, he sends several more strong blows to the face. Then comes the final, most powerful blow. However, this does not bring the long-awaited peace. There will be no peace in the soul until Ernest goes to hell. The guy is thrown far to the side, as if he had been hit by a truck. If we continue the attack, there will be no one to talk to. Bruce is interested in the main thing, why he is here. The information about the heavenly god of war is stored somewhere in Ernest's head. He will get them out of there at any cost, even if it means getting rid of his heir. Soon, the monsters from the dungeons will come out. To fight them, the strongest warriors are trained in Murim. The guy had heard these words many years ago. They sounded like nonsense back then, but today we have to believe them. He wants to know what awaits the rest of the settlers in Murim. Ernest believes that the Sky Warrior knows better what to do with them. If it's about a sacrifice to God, the guy will stand between them. He will not allow what the Heavenly Warrior has planned to happen. Suddenly he confesses that he has one task to complete. Ernest will kill Bruce's sister and no one can stop him. Without listening to the end of this nonsense, the guy quickly stops him. One strike of the sword creates silence for a while. The next few blows chop Ernest into tiny pieces. A series of stinging blows turns his body into meat slicing. This is not a sight for women. Camilla happened to be nearby at the wrong time when the master was being dealt with. After a few seconds, there was only one left in that place. From now on, she will serve the strongest warrior on the continent. The girl asks for help to remove the curse of control. It's too dirty here for such magical rituals. A month later, everything was ready for the final conference. Thomas congratulates the guests on the completion of the international exchange. Their country's hunters showed themselves to be excellent. The guild has been replenished with several high-level fighters. They were trained in the most difficult dungeon. Now nothing will stop them from taking the leadership of their guild. The time has come to introduce the main character to the public. The assistant reports that Bruce is nowhere to be found. He preferred to spend his time differently, away from social life. Lana quickly found the fugitive, knowing his favorite place. The girl also deserved a break after a difficult month. She warns that one should not leave the city in winter. However, Bruce's responsibilities can easily be taken over by his sister. Niels will also help her with business with the guild. In such weather, you want to forget about all your problems. She hopes the guy was okay after everything that happened. In the end, they never learned anything about the Heavenly Warrior. It's a pity that Ernest didn't have time to tell everything. He only hinted that the guy didn't end up in Murim by accident. Most likely, he was involved in the disappearance from the very beginning. However, the journey is just beginning. He will learn the answers to all questions. This is enough to find the main culprit. The summer season is in full swing. At such times, hunters do not stay at home. Monsters have multiplied everywhere. You can quickly gain experience. They have completely completed the cleanup of this area. It's always nice to collect dropped items. Now it wouldn't hurt to have the ability to quickly collect stones. The leader is confident that such an ability simply does not exist. A second later, it becomes clear that the cleanup is not over yet. A giant monster bursts out from the depths of the forest towards them. The group leader made a slight mistake in counting the animals killed. However, the monster was already wounded and was living out its last seconds. The fight is cancelled. He dies himself. By the way, not a single stone fell out of it. At this moment, a message comes from the neighboring dungeon. A couple of minutes ago, the body of the former leader was discovered there. The leader of the Twilight Guild has died. The cause of death is being determined. The rest of the guild quickly agree to negotiate. Thus, the merger of two strong guilds begins. People unanimously support the new leader. Bruce becomes a rising star, topping the hunter rankings. For a short time, everything calmed down. Only the city's hero himself remained slightly tense. Greta hadn't visited this cozy restaurant for a long time. She could eat Western noodles without even wincing. Unlike his sister, Bruce feels sick of her. Of course, this is a matter of taste and Greta should not be offended. From today on, they can come here more often. She had long dreamed of spending more time with her brother. At this moment, the phone in my pocket rings. It's work. The guys need his help again. Bruce apologizes profusely, but he will have to leave his sister. The ability to teleport has long replaced his taxi. It only takes a moment to find yourself on the other side of the city. He forgot to pay for her lunch, the little rascal. A real brother doesn't do that. He himself was not prepared for the urgent call. Today we have to visit a research laboratory. He had never been to such places before, but it would be very interesting. Magic laboratories are kept in the strictest confidence. The reason for the call was completely different. He must see it with his own eyes. This frozen corpse of the monster was the very reason. The wolf was found in one of those dungeons where the monster shouldn't be. In addition, the hunters did not find the fallen stone. The guild had never encountered anything like this before. Lana hopes that Bruce can shed some light on the matter. He believes that there is no reason to worry. All he needs is the coordinates of the dungeon. He will quickly figure everything out. All passages leading inside should be temporarily closed. We'll have to kill a couple of monsters today. The number of monsters without dropped stones continued to grow. If this continues, the stones will rise in value sharply. Negotiations between the two guilds are almost finished. The boss decides to make the visit sooner than he had previously planned. Perhaps there is a hunter there who can solve such problems. The boss's instincts don't deceive him, but the guy is a little busy. First, he intends to solve his personal problems. Bruce is in the dungeon where the wolf's corpse was discovered. There is no time for long waiting. Killing multiple mutants does not require the help of a group. Rather, it is the monsters who need help now. With a few quick blows, he cuts everyone into pieces. We need to check what happened to the dropped items. Oddly enough, stones immediately drop from killed wolves. Then why didn't their relative drop anything? It is impossible to count how many stones Bruce collected during his life. Suddenly, a bright flash appears behind. It resembles a cut between two spaces. Its color and vibration are slightly different from others. He again recalls Ernest's words about God's secret plan. Perhaps the world really is coming apart at the seams. With every second, the crack increases in size. Now the reason is clear. A giant monster bursts in from another dungeon. In normal times, this is impossible. Monsters cannot move. It's not hard to deal with this runaway monster problem. His head is easily cut off from his body. It is much more difficult to decide what to do with the portal. Monsters without dropped stones begin to take over dungeons. This could well be called a new redistribution of spaces. I wonder what's on the other side of the crack. Perhaps this is where you should look for answers to your questions. Soon he will be able to meet the bastard who sent the boy to Murim. Now it is clear that monsters appear only from the portal. When touching this substance, the hand feels as if it is immersed in water. Even the sensations are reminiscent of contact with cool water. It's strange how the creatures manage to pass through the water column. Surely the monsters have additional abilities. Suddenly another thought occurs to him. All past dungeons can be training dungeons. He decides to find out a little more about it. It is worth going to the place where the fault was first discovered. Loud voices of familiar hunters can be heard nearby. Paul hadn't spoken to Bruce in ages since that purge. During this time, the man did not change, except that he aged a little. It is known that things in his guild are not going in his favor. He gets down on his knees and asks the guy for one favor. 6 more extremely dangerous dungeons remained uncleared. All hope rests once again on one man. Olivia will also have to ask for help from the strongest leader. The girl can't cope with the problematic dungeons. She is forced to resort to the help of someone who has enough experience. We need to quickly find clues related to the cracks. Paul assures that his team is ready for any challenge. He must remember how successfully the common enemy was eliminated. The guys are ready to engage in combat with the new enemy with the same strength. This kind of speech will make anyone meet halfway. Bruce decides to enter the portal first, in case of a surprise attack. He will kill everyone he meets along the way. A beastly roar was heard on the other side. A second later, the battle begins with the monsters attacking. They become easy prey for stone collectors. A bunch of artifacts drop right in front of the group. Paul had never seen so many useful items. You need to collect them in one strong bag. The surprises don't end there. You need to prepare for the worst. The rift in space increases threefold. Bruce forgot to mention that this happens every day. Then the man would not behave like a complete child. The portal no longer seems like a safe way to travel. Nobody promised an easy walk between the two dungeons. The crack widens before our eyes, as if there was a crowd of aliens behind it. The guy prepares a projectile of powerful magic in advance. He sends several sharp wedges there, getting ahead of the enemy. All projectiles land in another dungeon. It's amazing that they are able to overcome the portal's boundaries. It turned out that the exit was somewhere on the training field. This place is securely guarded by 3 mid-level hunters. Nothing has been happening here lately. Sometimes I want to die of boredom. The guard offers his friend to transfer to another place of service. At this point, something strange happens. Turning around, all 3 see an unfamiliar face. The deity informs the inhabitants of the earth about the coming catastrophe. Everyone who sees this cannot understand the essence of the message. The point is that the world will soon go to hell. The fate of humanity is predetermined. The deity can only delay it. She prays for every resident, but is powerless to stop the nightmare. This kind of notification can be invigorating. The guard misunderstood everything. There was nowhere to run anyway. The eldest member of the group returns the fugitive to his place. However, soon he himself will want to leave the training field. He sees things that he can't even dream of in his worst nightmare. A huge crowd of monsters bursts out of the open portal. The other guys see it too. Mutated rabbits try to overcome the barrier. They came here from a place where whole crowds scurry about. At this time, it is not only rabbits who are trying to crawl through the portal. The group led by Bruce is already meeting the impudent guest. The old dungeon rules are crumbling away like sand. The special monsters seem to have broken loose. They must know their place on the other side of the fault line. Here's someone who will make them understand it. The creatures are clearly acting on someone's evil orders. The killed wolf will make an excellent specimen for future research. Now it's time to use the main weapon. The soul sword is capable of exterminating an entire army of such creatures, especially if it's in good hands. Bruce notices something very familiar in the distance. Many years ago, he met this in Murim. Just like then, I want to smash the notification window to hell. However, the window now prohibits the use of such an attack. The system believes that humanity is not ready yet. Bruce, too, has not yet been allowed beyond the final frontier. In other words, it won't be possible to break through to the other side by force. It turns out that we need to use a different method. This understanding alone is enough for the guy to temporarily retreat. He will try again. Everything has its time. Meanwhile, it was time for the Dawn Guild to report. Thomas welcomes guests of the event. Before the main part of the conference begins, it is worth saying something. The man sincerely apologizes to each comrade. The country suffered huge losses after the cracks opened. That day, many fighters encountered the strongest monsters. The number of weak monsters has decreased to a record low. This is what caused the merger of the 2 guilds. This is the main thing you need to know at the moment. The reporters won't let him go. They have to find out the truth. Is it true that the decision was supported by the rest of the guild members? Many believe that Thomas did not inform other leaders about this. One of these guys has been waiting for the conference finals for a long time. Lana is glad that he returned from the dungeon so early. Bruce dropped by for a minute, got a couple of new leads. According to his information, the government sent someone to him. This means that Bruce is not only needed by friends. The first round of negotiations with the mediator will take place today. It is not surprising that a girl was chosen for this role. In response to the greeting, Bruce does not say a word. He suggests starting with the essence of the matter, without wasting unnecessary time. Olivia admits that they can't cope without Bruce's help. He is due to meet with an American representative on behalf of the country. At the moment, there is no one more suitable. With such proposals, he advises to go to another guild. You wouldn't expect anything else from arrogant hunters. Olivia promises a generous reward for assistance. She is sure that this is his civic duty. In fact, the guy didn't take out any debts and doesn't owe anything to the government. However, money for work can convince him. Bruce decides to squeeze every last drop out of this opportunity. He changes his first decision by agreeing to help. Now I'll have to go on a business trip for a while. The local hotel has quite a nice interior. Although the atmosphere here is still tense, Olivia is forced to say that Alex demands a personal meeting. He wants to see a hunter equal to him in strength. Bruce warns that a good conversation may not happen. An unusual start to a business trip. It's interesting to know how strong the local guild leaders are. There will soon be an opportunity to find out. Alex is already here. The business trip begins. He walks into the room as if he's been doing charity work all his life. Alex introduces the secretary who will be present here. Well, Bruce has his own secretary too. They are similar in many ways, but there is one major difference. Alex believes that today's meeting will bring them closer. In fact, the guy didn't want to accept Olivia's proposal. However, it is too late to back down. Now everyone is worried about the dungeon breakthroughs. The lack of monster stones will hit international trade. This is why collaboration is so important. Alex believes that they have managed to find the best solution to the problem. The chances of success are quite high. Recent experiments have only confirmed the theory. Then Olivia wants to know what their plan is. If China agrees to help, Alex guarantees an excellent result. Hunters like them can change the history of the planet. At the beginning of negotiations with the government, Alex spoke about the strongest people. He only wanted to see high-level hunters here. Olivia doesn't understand what their new partner is getting at. Bruce thinks the guy lacks practice. After returning from Murim, Alex forgot what he had learned. There is no need to hide the fact that he is also a migrant. Bruce is a master of the heavenly harmony of pure art, although he doesn't look like the strongest at all. He suggests holding a training fight to check the level. To do this, you need to find a suitable dungeon where there are no monsters. Soon they find the perfect dungeon. It is comfortable to conduct strength tests here. Alex is always at the service of daredevils who decide to test their strength. It's clear why he is so confident in himself. A dark aura fills the guy, giving him powerful energy. He wouldn't believe it if he knew how many times Bruce had seen it. The same desperate guys still stand before my eyes, as if they were alive. Alex climbed high on the pedestal, killing his comrades. Everyone lives as best they can, nothing shameful. Bruce gives him 3 attacks, deciding to take a defensive position. It's like a brat's contempt. He will soon regret that he offered to attack first. Alex's strike is easily blocked on the fly. His hand is grabbed tightly, poor attempt. There are 2 more attacks to prove the words in practice. He decides to use a speed attack. A second later, Alex takes up position to finish the fight. He was sure that surprise attacks were an advantage, but this opponent seems to see the beginning of the attacks in advance. He counterattacks as soon as Alex takes a break. There is a secret striking technique for this purpose. The technique is really great, but you need to at least hit your opponent. He clearly had problems with this. Bruce again chooses the best moment to strike back. The guy simply didn't expect such serious resistance. It quickly groups in the air upon landing. I messed up my hair a bit, but otherwise everything is fine. Alex is quite pleased with the result of today's meeting, but anger won't let you finish the workout. Bruce sees a dangerous projectile narrowly miss his body. He decided to move from hand-to-hand combat to a shootout. The guy deliberately missed and asks not to draw conclusions. With such accuracy, he definitely wouldn't have been accepted into a decent guild. Bruce activates the magic, advising him not to do it again. It's better not to show off your poor shooting in front of other hunters. Seeing real power, Alex falls to his knees. He recognizes Bruce as a leader, hoping for understanding. Because of the difference in strength, he wants to call him his elder. Still, Bruce's reaction is a little strange. He wants to see the guy as a comrade, equal to himself in everything. You can't fight side by side thinking about titles and ranks. Words worthy of a true leader. Alex talks about a project aimed at mining stones. They believe that the essence of the monsters is the stone itself. In other words, artifacts no longer drop from them. He had heard this somewhere before. It is proposed to create new entities from the corpses of mutants. There is nothing strange about mining stones differently. Using ancient technology, you can pull them out from the depths. In demonic teachings, this technique was used to steal souls. It looks gloomy, but in fact it is quite reasonable. At this point, Bruce proposes to end today's negotiations. It is better to continue the conversation in a cozy office. Olivia didn't immediately believe that the guy agreed to cooperate. He will participate in this on behalf of the American side. All I need to do is sign some papers. The girl had already imagined what share of the profit she would receive. In addition to money, both were offered exclusive rights to the crystals. Bruce personally begged for this privilege. Just don't faint from the happiness that has fallen upon you. Alex gives his word that he will assist in everything. Full benefits will only be received if the cleanup is successful. There is no doubt about this success. Departure to the States is scheduled on the next flight. Once inside, Bruce gets his first taste of the place. The size of the research laboratory is impressive. It was built in case the monsters managed to escape from the dungeons. This laboratory was like an underground bunker. Alex places his hand on the stone extractor. Activating the device does not require a lot of energy. Now we can take a closer look at their first copy. To date, this is all we have managed to obtain. A small golden ball contains the power of a mutant. It's strange to hold the power of a giant alien in your hands. The Sky Demon uses something similar in his cults. Hearing this, Bruce immediately remembers all the circles of hell in Murim. They are similar in many ways to the dark creatures. You need to control yourself. Alex is on the bright side now. Artificial essence has existed in the world for a long time. Bruce knows about this much more than other hunters. One monk told me a secret. Alex was not interested in the affairs of Orthodox sects. If there is a plan, he asks Bruce to tell him everything. If he doesn't mind, Alex would like to invite one person. There is one level 70 craftsman who created the prototype. Tyrone went through his school in Murim. He can be trusted. The man brought what Alex asked him for. Without wasting any time, Bruce decides to get down to business. Something very funny and evil escapes from the cage. The creature is clearly not happy with its confinement. The guy absorbs his energy using a special technique. Instead of the evil creature, only a clot of energy remains. The energy also feels quite hostile. He probably had no other qualities besides aggression. The energy concentrate must be placed into the device immediately. Contact with energy automatically triggers a reaction. All that remains is to wait for the device to complete the procedure. Done. This ball is completely reshaped. Bruce invites Tyrone to see it for himself. He had never seen anything like it in all his time working in the laboratory. Tyrone promises to explore the new element. It's amazing how similar the ball is to the mutant stones. It almost completely copies their composition. No need to thank him. For Bruce, it's just a hobby. The question is whether Tyrone can use it in practice. You will have to study the main principle of operation. And by the way, the great energy absorption technique was top-notch. It's nice to receive so much praise in a few minutes, but they will never become owners of such equipment. A week later, the man was able to see how difficult it was. He destroyed dozens of mutants in an attempt to gain control of the energy. Today is the day he succeeded. Poor Tyrone is slowly feeding the material into the device. His efforts were rewarded. Bruce was able to create the same energy ball on the first day. They are finally celebrating the success they have long deserved. In just 1 week, Bruce manages to convey a complex skill. Bruce warns that it may not work twice in a row. In a week, they will definitely get another ball. Tyrone will likely be completely blind by then. It was a joke. Everything will be fine. These words raised the team spirit a little. Although Bruce was being disingenuous, they were stuck for a long time. A week later, the guy was already welcome back in his home country. Greta was a little angry that her brother had again failed to inform her of his departure. He asks not to be offended. The decision was spontaneous. Lana asks her friend to cool down a bit before the office burns down. By the way, there is good news for Bruce. Lana personally created the new guild emblem for a week. Tyrone spends about the same amount on his useless ball. Lana demands that we respect other people's work, or at least pretend to. Her brother hadn't changed a bit during his absence, which cannot be said about the relationship between these two young people. From the outside, it seems as if a couple in love is arguing over trifles. Lana asks not to say such words in her presence. However, we can return to this issue in the future. There are more important things to do now. Someone needs help. The secretary reports that new types of monsters have been spotted in the dungeon. 3 new types are threatening to break out. This news cannot be good news. Jim knows the exact location of the cracks where they were seen. A strong earthquake nearly killed 3 hunters. Nothing like this had ever happened on their territory before. Bruce can't let Lana go to a dangerous place. He will personally find out what the matter is when he returns with a report. Bruce suspects the goddess in this whole story. The Sky Warrior was also on the list of prime suspects. The very first monster regretted that he had crawled out of the crack today. It would have been better if he had stayed there, along with the other living monsters. Bruce realizes that mutants will soon overrun the entire city. The second revelation of the goddess is connected precisely with this. After the first breakthrough of the dungeon, everything began to change before our eyes. It looks like the world will indeed face tragedy in the future. This cannot be allowed to happen. Near the portal, he notices several silhouettes. His first students also went out to clear the dungeon. Deborah is surprised by such a meeting. Shouldn't he stay in the city? She knows that Bruce has already been through the Misty Dungeon. The matter cannot be delayed. Everything is becoming too serious. It's not just the high-level monsters that have come out. The problem may lie in the merging of several dungeons. The Misty Dungeon is just the beginning of a long journey. He sees how the team's mood has changed since the cleanup. Nick remembers that the flags were placed in the correct places. However, neither the gates nor the flags are visible in such fog. All you can see is a crack that is getting bigger and bigger. Maybe the gates don't exist anymore. Then things are bad. It's strange that there is only one gate in the entire dungeon. The merging of the dungeons has already begun, if Bruce understood correctly. He chooses the right words, inspiring the whole team. However, Bruce continues to stand still, giving the order to go to the portal. He decides to stay here and find out something. The dungeon merger is too dangerous. We need to get the newbies out. It was here that the first alien was spotted. Something strange is happening on the other side of the interdimensional rift. He sees someone trying to get out. At first, it seemed that another hunter had wandered inside, but it is unlikely that hunters have wings and a tail. For some reason, the giant lizard decided to wear clothes. The lizard demands to get out of the way if the guy is not yet bored with life. He had heard such threats approximately 10 million times. Usually the one who threatened him would apologize for a long time later. In this sense, Alex acted much wiser. After receiving the report, he quickly arrives in Hawaii. It would be nice to take a break here from these reports, but the world is faced with something that could send everyone into eternal rest. A new species of monsters is ready to enter the war with humanity. The dragon considers itself a supreme being, leading crowds. It's strange that he understands the language of dragons. The guy can communicate with him like with ordinary people. He welcomes dragons to a land where they are not welcome. The creatures are very different from other dungeon monsters. It turned out that the leader didn't even know what it was about. We're talking about ugly mutants that are crawling out of the cracks. The dragon will not forgive being compared to a simple monster. Overall, they are indeed very similar. It would be better if he didn't voice his opinion about dragons out loud. Although these creatures behave absolutely identically, monsters are also aggressive and only know how to kill. The three bastards were positioned comfortably in the air to be killed. Alex doesn't mind stretching a bit after a long break. At this moment, the dragon turned out to be smarter. He senses something is wrong before his fellows. The dragon decides to take the blow alone, responding in kind. In the first seconds, its level becomes clear. A strong, very strong dragon. So strong that one can easily become its victim. Luckily, the guy manages to jump aside in time. The dragon has no intention of stopping the fight in the middle of the battle. He warned that it was better to get out of the way and not tempt fate. One blonde idiot doesn't understand nice words. After the throw, the monster rushes after the opponent. A little more, and the tip of the blade would have reached its target. Alex notices the moment of impact in time, putting his sword forward. This is the only thing that saved him. By continuing the fight, the guy risks staying here forever. After killing the dragon, he will encounter its relatives. And yet the mentor would not forgive the escape if he learned this about Alex. Even when there is no point in a battle, a true warrior stands to the end. In addition, there is one interesting ability in reserve. One throw of the sword in combination with it puts an end to the duel. With this ability, you can pretend to be a hero. These creatures did not learn their lesson and decided to take revenge. One throw is enough to kill two creatures. Don't forget to clean the blade of the sword from dragon blood. The dragons themselves are no longer alive and there is no one to talk to. In addition, one of them accidentally had his head cut off. Alex hurried. He had to leave one alive. Without special magic, it is impossible to defeat the creatures. Even he had to sweat a lot. Other hunters will become easy prey for these creatures. Alex decides to quickly inform the new leader about this. Bruce will find a way to solve the problem with the appearance of dragons. By the way, Bruce also has a nice time in the company of a dragon. All the others are already dead. Only this one remains. It's okay, they definitely won't get bored in such company. The monster confesses that the dragons are to blame for the merging of the dungeons. He tells how their arrival on Earth began. The dragons were driven out of their home and ordered to seek refuge. Pride does not allow one to admit mistakes. Bruce became the first person the dragon could truly respect. He offers the guy a personal meeting with the Lord in a safe place. Such a person deserves to communicate on equal terms with their leader. Bruce believes that such an honor should be earned by the Lord himself. He doesn't care about their pride or who they think people are. If necessary, he will cut off the head of the chief instead of negotiations. But first, we need to find out everything about the dungeon merger. First, he decides to check something. The lie detector ability will not let you fool him. After some time, everyone learns about the little incident. They have too much in common. Maybe they are brothers. In any case, both leaders love to fight dragons. Seriously, these monsters are incredibly strong. Alex almost died in a duel with them. Bruce decided to send his captive alive to the main dragon. That winged bastard could show up here at any moment. This doesn't sound fun. We need to prepare the guards. But it is unlikely that a simple guard will stop the onslaught. The milord the prisoner spoke of was half human. Perhaps they will soon become stronger than simple hunters. This will be a real disaster for the whole world. That's why Bruce decides to leave the frightened dragon alive. He must instill fear in all his fellows. Only geniuses come up with such an idea. In that case, Alex will stay in Hawaii for a while. No one argues that Hawaii is much better. But what should those who remain here do? Bruce proposes changing the rules for the guild's hunters. After meeting the dragons, there were much fewer monsters. You need to send them to dungeons with high-level monsters. This way you can level up much faster. Soon he will need a whole army of powerful hunters. These two should stick together and be as close as possible. As close as it gets. Lana decides that Bruce is hinting at intimacy with her. It's about mutual assistance and close communication during powerful dragon attacks. For a moment, she thought he was talking about something else. He is confident that Lana will soon understand everything herself. These words sent a slight shudder through my entire body. Everyone will tremble when they meet high-level monsters. Dragons are different from ordinary creatures. They look like humans and can even communicate with them. It's hard to understand until you see them with your own eyes. Alex was the first to come across the three dragons in the dungeon. Bruce also managed to encounter a group of these creatures. To not give in to a fight, you need to learn new skills. Then you want to know what exactly you should study first. First of all, the guy suggests attacking him. Don't worry, they won't be able to win anyway. Even if the girls unite, they will only be able to hurt him. During the fight, they will understand their weaknesses. Strong warriors should not have weaknesses. That's right, 2 girls should attack 1. Both hunters understand each other perfectly. A few seconds later, Lana was already approaching her opponent. Not bad for a start, but still too slow. At this rate, she risks dying in a real fight. Against any other monster, her speed is quite sufficient. But Bruce experienced the skills of these aliens firsthand. Greta decides to take a creative approach to combat. She distracts the guy while her partner approaches from the side. It's a shame, but this trick was easy to understand. Lana walked several large circles in vain. After a couple of hours, the fight was over. The girls worked hard during the unscheduled training session. However, Lana enjoyed the threesomes activities. You need to train more often at an increased pace. Looking at the girls, Bruce understands that he is doing everything right. He asks to get up from the grass and continue. A week later, smiles no longer shone on women's faces. Only the secretary can interrupt a training session with urgent news. A call for help came from Hawaii, probably from Alex. Well, their training is moving to Hawaii. Alex doesn't rest at all during working hours. On the contrary, work was piling up from all sides. We need to kill 2 winged dragons before they do it to Alex. Dozens of small dungeons have appeared in those areas. Hunters are no longer able to cope with the task at hand. What's worse, Mr. Alex is now all alone. While he is alone, the dragon has one question for him. What happened to the relatives that the monster sent to Earth? Is it true that 2 bastards killed several dragons? If so, you will have to answer for your sins. Alex has no chance to use his magic now. It's naive to think so. The filthy lizards have forgotten who they have the honor of talking to. The dragon was prepared for such a bold answer. These creatures have already increased their initial level. It's unlikely that Alex will be able to surprise them with anything. Rather, he will incur wrath. You can notice how quickly the power of their aura changes. The 2 types of magic collided with each other, creating a powerful explosion. We had to wait until all the sand settled. Through the dust, Alex sees that the first attack has achieved nothing. The same dragons are still hovering in the air. Not a single creature has died. The main dragon demands that everyone disperse, leaving the matter to him. He will catch this desert rat himself. He is sure that he has seen all the abilities of the pathetic man. It was he who dared to threaten the dragon and his relatives, and now it becomes an easy target for the final blow. Instead of waiting, Alex decides to rush forward himself. Such an aura is truly capable of instilling fear. It feels like the dragon was once a magician. He confidently wields the staff, activating magic. This creature is much stronger than its previous relatives. It's worth trying if Alex is going to survive. His 2 partners don't even participate in the group attack. He decides to try one more remedy. It's time to catch them off guard while you have the chance. With one blow, he manages to cut off the dragon's paw. Now it will be difficult to hold a spear and pretend to be a leader. Alex also plans to cut off his second paw. It becomes clear what the main skill of dragons is. The scream exerts such a powerful pressure that the boy freezes in place. Having chosen the moment, he immediately sends a powerful wave at the guy. Alex is knocked off his feet and completely confused. His hand is pressed firmly to the ground. This creature will not forgive the loss of its left limbs, but some people can easily forgive this. For a man like Bruce, Alex's limbs are much more important. He simply doesn't care about the lives of the rebellious dragons. The guy brings the bastard down to earth with one blow. He thinks too much of himself. It would be better for these 2 to stay in the sky and find their way back. Bruce warns that next time you need to take a team. Otherwise, another encounter with monsters will end in death. The guy didn't expect help to arrive so quickly. Teleportation, my friend, teleportation. He too should master this valuable skill. Lately, monsters have been getting too strong. They reached level 80 in just a couple of weeks. The ability to regenerate also came as a big surprise. The dragons are ready to attack again. Now everything will be for real. The dragon knows this guy, as do all the rest of his kind. Bruce never received my lord's invitation, but their master should have contacted him. However, there is nothing wrong with his decision. If he is willing to sacrifice his subjects, that is his choice. A severed head cannot be replaced by another head. Otherwise, it will be a different dragon. His relative tries to repeat his success with suppression of the will. His roar will not work on a high-level hunter. Bruce suggests continuing the tough conversation. As expected, no one wanted harshness. The dragon swears that my lord wishes to meet Bruce. If it weren't for this answer, the guy would have killed him on the spot. A light blow is enough to calm the nerves a little. That's it. Let him rest a bit. Alex had a hard time, but he's glad he saw it. He is ready to do anything to be able to fight like this. Alex doesn't know the price Bruce paid for his abilities. Only the moon in the sky saw this suffering. My lord is truly impressed by the strength of a common man. He is terribly disappointed with the strength of his subjects. Magnus decides to personally go to Earth to meet the hunter. Open portals are suitable for this purpose. If he's right, the boys will soon see the leader of the dragons. We must believe that this meeting will bear fruit. Bruce orders a temporary camp to be set up in the dungeon. We'll have to remove a couple of rotting corpses from here. Otherwise, the smell will reach the temporary shelter. Luckily, Alex can take them for himself if he needs the corpses. He had never met such a generous leader. Dragon scales and bones are valuable materials. Maybe he'll make something useful out of them. It's wonderful that you can make a person happy so easily. There's plenty of this stuff here. Another powerful dragon has been killed and added to Bruce's list. By nightfall, the temporary camp was ready. A meeting with my lord can take place even in the middle of the night. Suddenly, the guy is visited by a strange feeling of heaviness in his body. Alex felt it too. They need to go outside and meet the uninvited guest. It took the largest portal to move it. The crack turned into a huge interspatial hole. There's not even a hint of teleportation magic here. Looks more like a regular gap between worlds. Soon the appearance of an alien became visible inside the portal. The creature is very different from its other relatives. The guys feel a very strong aura coming from above. It must be admitted that the appearance of the Milord is almost not similar to that of a dragon. He could create trouble if he wanted to. It would be great to have such a pet. True, his house will be many times larger than the owner's. Until recently, this meeting was out of the question. But now the ruler himself expresses a desire to talk. The dragon is probably already familiar with Bruce's antics. He recently killed several of his subordinates. They were never able to control the man. However, the last dragon turned out to be smarter than the others. It was he who conveyed the hunter's message in exchange for his life. The creature must understand language. Why doesn't it respond? My lord wants to know where the prisoners are now. Bruce admits that he killed everyone. They resisted. The negotiations began with bad news. However, the dragon asks for forgiveness for their unworthy behavior. You need to ask Alex for forgiveness. He suffered the most. Alex asks not to be modest. They all got it pretty bad. But is he so sure that all the dragons were dead? It's a strange question. Bruce has no reason to lie. That's all true, but there are some things in this story that don't add up. If anyone doubts, the guy is ready to prove it. The soul sword cannot belong to another person. This proof is better than any words. It's not every day you get to see the soul sword. Even my lord does not possess such a relic. If he had such a sword, there might simply have been no conversation. Don't worry, the weapon is not aimed at killing. He activated this magic just for the sake of demonstration. Bruce hopes that this evidence is sufficient. The dragon had not met such a powerful person for a long time. He acts like it's just fun. Did all people really have this level? Of course, only Bruce has this level. The subordinate was right. It is possible to conduct a dialogue with this guy. Bruce suggests getting to the point without dragging out the introduction. Otherwise, they will admire each other until the morning. And this guy is also funny. In this case, you need to slightly change the appearance. It's not very comfortable to speak from a superior position. Now it's clear why the rest of the dragons look like humans. Magnus himself is almost no different from a human, except that the ears stick out like those of a forest elf. Magic is also not inherent in simple monsters. Bruce asks to keep the tricks to himself and not to ruin the conversation. What does he achieve by using his magic? It turns out they are not the only ones who enjoy night walks. The spy must find out everything while Magnus is here. It seems that none of them like walking. The dragon simply cast a spell for easy translation. The difference is that the translation will be from human language. It's a pity that this meeting didn't take place earlier. Better to meet late than never. He thanks for the opportunity to communicate with the strongest. Knowing Bruce's level, the guy should be taken as an equal. Everyone can already guess what Magnus is going to talk about now. He wants to start a collaboration, right? This guy can also read minds. However, there is something in his head that is better left unknown. Bruce reminds that the invitation to meet came a long time ago. It's strange that the dragon responded to him only now. Suddenly, Magnus asks for permission to live with people on Earth. There is nothing wrong with this. Why not allow it? However, society will not be able to accept dragons. The dragon swears that he will be able to prove his usefulness. If they wish, they can live right in this place. There are no people here, but the first guests may appear soon. If Magnus can handle it, he can gradually establish contact. Otherwise, the cities will revolt against the dragons. Then the guy won't be able to help him in any way. Magnus thinks the place is a bit empty. That's right, because nothing has been built here. He has enough dragons to fix that. You need to think about it. It's hard to decide right away. Magnus will have an eternity to think about it. It is in his best interest to do it faster. The problem is that food supplies are intermittent. Perhaps Bruce can provide support. And also, Magnus asks to give access to the land at least to him alone, in case the connection between the dungeons is lost. Such a decision can only be made with Alex's consent. Alex doesn't mind as long as the dragons don't do anything stupid. In that case, Bruce doesn't see the problem either. It turns out that one dragon will still come out to the people. The negotiations can be considered complete. An agreement has been reached. It's nice when leaders of different races find common ground. Someday everyone else will follow their example. Now it's time for Magnus to resume his usual appearance. A mesmerizing sight, the dragon returns home. His subordinates quickly get to work. People are gradually flocking to this place to help them. As Bruce said, you have to do everything gradually. Over time, people became accustomed to the company of dragons. Magnus didn't lie, he's doing a great job. They are increasingly meeting here, far from the bustle of the world. Lately, he has been very busy with land improvement. Suddenly, Magnus announces a new way of moving. He knows how to move a body in space, knowing only the coordinates. Bruce's reaction seemed a little strange. Previously, it was only possible to travel long distances in stages. Thanks to Magnus, they will be able to do it much faster. He really turned out to be quite useful. It was not for nothing that Bruce believed in the possibility of living with dragons. Magnus also believed that people could be intelligent. With Bruce's skills, he will quickly master teleportation. He must promise that he will help them in case of an influx of monsters. You don't have to worry, the guy will support you. They understand each other again from the first word. Sometimes bad news spoils the joy of a meeting. Bruce's assistant has been looking for the leader here for a long time. An urgent report was received from headquarters. The guild leader must see this for himself. In short, hell broke loose in the city center. The most powerful flying monsters have captured part of the territory. Giants possess the most powerful destructive magic. They are not afraid of local hunters and enthusiasts. People are forced to leave their homes in panic. Many residents did not survive the day of the invasion. The guild leader personally went out into the street with a sword in his hands. He fought steadfastly for every citizen and led the troops. Greta also did not stand aside, hitting targets from a high-rise building. To give her credit, accuracy is her strong point. She was able to kill several flying giants. Thanks to Greta, the hunters managed to turn the tide of the battle. Soon her location is noticed by other individuals. She is quite prepared for this too, quickly changing her position. It's a shame Bruce didn't see her that day. There were too many individuals, and there was less and less strength left. All the newcomers were able to show their best sides. No one will forget how courageously their leader acted. No one will forget how steadfastly the leader held on. Even in times of mortal danger, she does not leave her position. Her shot almost caught the monster in the air, and yet the arrow misses. She understands that heroism will lead to her death. The problem is that it's too late to run. A severed head becomes the most pleasant sight. It's understandable because Greta's head remained intact. Brother arrived just in time again. He warned that the shooting position should not be given away. Bruce asks for a little patience. The healing magic has been activated. It will burn a little, as if someone had applied cotton wool with iodine. Luckily, Greta is able to tolerate pain. The situation is gradually improving. But the monsters are still here. They forgot who is the real boss in this city. There are differences in feel from other similar creatures, but they burn just like all the other bastards. You don't have to bother with close combat, just burn them to hell. It was too easy for them to penetrate the city. Now the rest of the monsters will think twice before storming. Urgent matters have been successfully completed. The hunters will do the rest. Greta asks not to worry about anything, they will cope. Soon he returns to the dungeon. The guy took a couple of copies with him. They no longer pose a danger. Now their energy belongs to Bruce. The guy acknowledges the power that individuals are endowed with. Magnus also decides to test their power level. What he learns makes him think for a moment. He is sure that the giants were personally touched by the hand of a demon. He endowed each individual with its own power. There is dark magic cast on the animals, no doubt about it. The only question is what the demonic spawn is trying to achieve. I need to think a little more. There is no need to rush. You have the whole day ahead of you. After some time, Magnus repeats the same conclusion. There is no doubt that the monsters were touched by a demon. He said this a couple of hours ago. Maybe there's something else. Bruce suggests looking for a way to quickly detect portals. Suddenly, Magnus asks not to bother. He will take care of everything himself. The skills of simple hunters will only ruin the plan. The guy reminds that it will take more time. Still, a man like Bruce shouldn't waste his time on nonsense. He is too valuable for the deity and ordinary people. If Magnus had been right, the boy wouldn't have been locked up for 14 years. The deity has nothing to do with it. He himself raised the level to the maximum. There's still some score to settle with that bastard up there. The bad news is that the main bastard is downstairs. Right now, he continues his atrocities in the dungeon. The demon killed the best hunters that Bruce personally trained. It is he who opens portals between dungeons. The monster will not stop until it floods the earth with human blood. He already understood how sweet it tastes.